All right, happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome in on this Tuesday morning, the 29th of April. Where will this be a 4-hour Shedeur Sanders-free discussion zone?
We've already put more effort into the show than the Heat put into their game last night.
Hold on.
Oh, Jimmy. Coming out swinging.
Am I wrong? I figured you'd agree with me. Like, come on.
Hold on.
Wow.
I will get to that. I will get to that. You guys got to understand, I just told you this. I might pull a Jennifer Hudson here today.
It's okay.
And storm out after 30 minutes here. But it wouldn't be because I'm upset with the content that's going on. I'm like hurling. This is going to be my Michael Jordan flu game.
Every game could be your Michael Jordan flu game.
So we need to put up barriers this morning.
I'm going to tell you something right now. I already got sick about what? When was that? 2 months ago now?
What day is this?
2.5 months ago? I don't know. Like during March Madness. Remember that? I got hit.
Oh, that's right. You took the day off.
I
forgot. We talked about that.
Like a truck. Like I nearly passed out in a Walmart walking around because I was like, oh, I'm not feeling all that great. And I went to go and get the Latin specialties, right? I went to go and get the Advil. I got the Viva Peru. I got the Gatorade, the Canada Dry. I got the chicken noodle soup. And while walking through the hallways, I literally almost fainted. And I was like, okay, I don't think I'm going to be able to be on the show. So I think my antibodies are good right now. I might be fine.
I can, I don't get sick very often, but I can kind of feel it. And this morning I can feel it.
You told me, you walked in, you go, yeah, I'm not feeling all that good. I go, you look the same.
Thank you.
I can't tell.
Love you long time. We are at 127 in your man cave. If you're keeping track of the Nebraska football roster, we are still on Marty watch. Screw you, Kane Sport. Or
I don't like sport.
I think Kane Sport, we just assumed. Just assumed. And you know what they say when you assume, young Matt? You make an ass out of you and me.
Wow.
Amen, brother.
We're done assuming. I'm done assuming that the Heat culture is still a thing. I want to start this morning off, okay? That I hate the NBA.
Wow.
I think the NBA is awful. I think the NBA should shut her down and not do anything until Christmas. I think the NBA is bad. I don't think they should play games. I don't think they should allow Ernie Johnson to talk about my favorite NBA team.
Wow.
I had one of the worst NBA nights of all time last night. And I've had some bad nights. I've had some losses in the finals. I was in the building when Dallas beat Miami, okay, to win the NBA title. I had to see those clowns celebrating in Miami.
Yeah.
I watched the end of the LeBron era where they lost in San Antonio. That air conditioning, that heat.
Toughness.
I've had some bad nights with my basketball team. Last night tops everything.
Hey, no, it doesn't.
Yes, it
what
does.
What did you expect?
I mean,
they're an 8 seed.
We've seen some blowouts.
What do you mean? What do I expect? I did not expect to get beat by 55.
They are an 8 seed who's had a
No, you're not telling me. You're not telling me how to feel.
Long. They're playing a 64 win. They played a 64 win.
Just
Cleveland
stick
Cavalier
to your Chicago
team.
Bulls, Chicago White Sox, City Connect jersey over there, and just have some fun.
That is the stupidest thing ever, by the
I
way.
watched last night an NBA game. So this is the double-barreled of a Miami Heat fan.
Sure.
Okay, and there aren't many of us.
Go ahead.
Many of you have left since 3.
Go ahead and complain.
6 and 7 all left town. I was watching last night, and I stuck with them. Even after they embarrassed me in game 3, I stuck with them thinking, you know what? What if this is the last time I get to watch these guys play? I enjoy watching them play. So
they'll play
I tuned
hard.
in.
It's the Heat.
The game was over 7 minutes in, and I thought I was watching the 92 Dream Team against Angola. That's what I thought I was watching last night between Cleveland and Miami.
Angola gave more effort.
You thought you were watching 2012 versus Bahamas. I mean, it was something
awful. They quit, and so
they did
now, I might be from a long way away. I'm not embedded there in South Florida.
Sure, you're not in the trenches.
They got to blow it up. The Heat culture is not quitting.
Yep,
they have to blow it up. They are exposed this year of Pat Riley's inefficiency at building a roster.
He's washed.
I don't know that he's washed. I think they have gone the wrong way, and his arrogance has run people out of Miami. And then, so not only dealing with my NBA team that comes to an end, and I got to watch Tyler Hero mean mugging when you're down 39. Shut your face and get off the floor. I actually might start feeling better.
I
after
was
this
about to
rant
say,
here.
I don't know if you're going to pass out or if this is going to put some energy in you.
So they quit. They quit last night. They absolutely quit. They've got to blow up what's going on in Miami. Okay, the head's got to roll. I need some accountability. But Pat Riley, you are front and center. And then, so I have that, and I've got some Heat friends, and so we were kind of all in the same boat. Nobody was like, no, you got to preach patience because Heat culture is not blowing things up. Well, you know what? Blow the damn thing up.
They kind of already started when they traded Jimmy. Like when they got rid of Jimmy and they got Wiggins, like I feel like that was the beginning of what was the expectation after they traded Jimmy? That not roster
losing by 55.
The expectation was not to lose by 55. And the Cavs didn't even have Darius Garland.
Yeah,
they didn't have Darius Garland.
And they
beat the Heat by 55.
I just think Larry Nance don't have the roster to begin with.
Well,
to even think that you're going to compete.
Why don't we have the roster? Whoa. Pat Riley,
because he pissed off Jimmy.
Riley. Yeah, and then I'm like,
that's what happened.
Like, you know
what?
A
superstar pissed him off.
I'm in it to win it, and I think I'm entertained by watching Steph Curry because we don't have many more moments where we get to watch Steph Curry and LeBron James.
That's a good game.
Good point.
The way I feel right now, I may not have another day, but watching Golden State and Houston, and then I see what Jimmy Butler is doing, and it makes it even worse. That contributes to the worst day I've ever had as an NBA fan.
Don't you forget?
And I think Silver stepped in and he said, you know what, Sharpie, you're right. No more NBA. Let's go right to the WNBA. More Caitlin Clark highlights. I think that's what they said late last night on Inside the NBA.
Yesterday I found out that it was the Indiana Fever training camp, and I was actually invested in watching the package of what they looked like and how the team was playing. And right then and there, I realized, wow, Caitlin Clark is the most transcendent athlete in all of sports, because never in my life have I ever known that a WNBA team is starting training camp in April. But now I know.
Lexi Holt.
And she had a great 3-pointer and then slammed her head against the wall.
Whoa.
As a celebration.
That actually, I'm going to expose myself here a little bit.
Yeah.
That actually is from last year.
Oh, is it? Oh,
yeah.
Okay. I saw
but
that
they have
clip.
started training camp.
Yeah, I saw that clip. I just assumed it was a
Celtics look good. Berg and
You're a true fan.
Yeah. No,
if the Indiana Fever had if they had a garage sale, if they had like hey, we're gonna clear out the entire locker room, would you get there at 3 hours beforehand to make sure you get all the Caitlin Clark bobbleheads?
No, but did I pause for a moment to see that Hy-Vee has special Caitlin Clark Gatorade on sale this week? And did I look at the bottle and think, would that be a collector's item? Yes. Did I stand in line at the Newton Speedway to get Caitlin Clark's autograph a couple of years ago?
Yes.
And ask her, hey, can you sign it? Go Huskers. And she talked some smack to me. Yes, I did do that.
Wow.
Did I for a moment think about going to Iowa City this weekend and watching the Indiana Fever play at Carver Hawkeye? Yes, I did. But that's the extent of it. Okay.
Yeah. Well, what do you mean?
Now you're going to have to get some rest.
What do you mean the extent of it? You're over the finish line. Yeah.
Oh, no. I don't have a jersey. I don't have anything else.
That's as far as I'm going to go. Yeah. You're pretty far in. You don't have a jersey? You don't have a t-shirt?
No.
You're not a jersey guy.
Yeah, I'm a jersey guy.
But he's an Iowa guy.
I'm a jersey guy and I frame them. Okay. So every team I've ever worked for, I've gotten a jersey.
That's cool.
And framed it.
That's really cool.
Damn, but I don't like wear jerseys.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't wear a basketball jersey because there would be stuff coming out the bottom and the sides. And people really frankly don't need to see that because people are struggling right now.
Can I be
That's
honest?
the last visual they need.
I'm gonna get roasted for this. If you're over the age of like 28, 29, you don't need to be wearing a basketball jersey. Just in general, okay? Unless you're like a physical fitness trainer where it's your like job to keep your body and you don't need to be wearing
Nick Bond line one
a basketball. You just don't need to be wearing a basketball jersey. Now, if you wear like a t-shirt under the basketball jersey, or if you wear a hoodie and then you put the jersey over, I don't have a problem with that. But just we don't.
I didn't know there were specifics.
Well,
I'm just saying,
hey, there are jersey police out there because there are some that think that you should not be wearing a jersey of an athlete that you are older than.
See, I think that those people are
there's different because there is a culture in hockey. It's not a jersey; it's a sweater.
It's a sweater,
and that is an accepted form of apparel to wear to a game, and you don't even think twice about it.
I never look at anybody differently when they're wearing a hockey jersey at a hockey game.
And-
ever. Now, when I see a person wearing a jersey at another event,
Mhm.
I think, oh, they're into it. Or it's like, oh, it's a jersey day for them. Sometimes it's a jersey day for me. Right. But
Yeah.
no, you're spot on with hockey. But basketball jerseys, like, unless if you're under the age of like 25, whatever, frat guy in college, like you're a kid, wear your jersey. Have fun wearing your jersey. If you're a grown adult, male or female, okay,
Glad we specified.
you don't need to be wearing a basketball jersey.
So, how many jerseys did you see while you were standing in line at the garage sale on Saturday?
Way too many. Way too many. But there were
were they on the back of the jersey? Was the nameplate blank? Was it a former Husker, or was it the person that's wearing the jersey, their last name?
I saw 3 jerseys of one guy. You want to guess who it was?
What number?
Yeah, what name? Name and number.
7 is popular. 22 I still see.
I always guess 69.
I don't see a lot
fans.
of 90.
Well, I'm talking basketball.
Oh, basketball. Okay.
I saw 3
basketball.
30.
Yeah.
30 Tominaga. Absolutely incredible. Like,
would have been absolutely incredible if he actually was in line at the garage sale wearing his former jersey.
One guy was tall enough where I'm like, that might be Kasich. That might be him. He's like, they're giving away my shoes. I need to go. Do you think any former Husker was a little like, I don't know, I had a pair of shoes and I wanted them and they didn't give them to me and now they're just selling them? Do you think there could have been any sort of athlete with like slight animosity toward like, oh, you're
no, because wasn't the stuff
I'm just
left over? Like there were, so one of our listeners goes, hey, I bought something that I don't want. Do you want it? And I said, thinking might be a nice little piece of memorabilia. They go, hey, I got some slides. They don't fit my feet. What size are you?
You know what? The slides were actually kind of nice, though. I almost picked myself
The picture
up.
looks pretty good.
You should have. Those are nice.
Yeah, but I'm a flip-flop guy.
They're only $10.
I'm a flip-flop
There's
guy.
a lot of, so with the people that I was with,
Mhm.
we were at the very end of the sale and we were scraping the bottom of the barrel. Everybody was walking out with a pair of slides because that was like a lot that was left.
When did slides become a big thing? Because when I was living in Florida, of course, we wear flip-flops.
Right.
And you wear flip-flops as like normal shoes. And I
Mhm.
know it's terrible for your feet.
Yeah.
Everything's terrible.
But I don't see flip-flops being sold. Everybody refers to them as slides. And I get laughed at. I said, oh, you got some flip-flops on. And they're like, no, that's
No,
not flip-flops.
no.
It's slides.
It's-
When
yeah,
did
there's-
slides?
Flip-flops died? The name? Like, even those are called?
Well, there's
Well,
a difference. Like the
'Cause
flip-flops are you
slides are
slide
the-
the toe
yeah.
in. The
Yeah.
slides are you just
It
slide
fits
in.
in between your middle toe and your big toe.
But the
and, like, it
slides
makes
have
a flop.
the slides I think have run off flip-flops
You
in this
travel
part of the
with
country.
I think
basketball, you know,
2014.
Oh, they wear Crocs and they wear slides.
Yeah.
Crocs are awesome.
I was going to say 15,
Sometimes-
so that's a good guess, Matt.
I think 2014 because that's when like no serious.
Very specific.
That's a great year.
I'm being very very specific here because I remember that a
Basketball was
Chicago
never more
Blackhawks
beautiful.
documentary came out and they talked about how like socks and sandals was like a recovery method for like the
Yeah.
team, like to make their feet like, you know, to just keep their feet up and not like have them hurt. They would wear socks and sandals. And so a lot of the kids that I played with started doing that because they wanted to be
Yeah.
like the Hawks. They would wear socks and sandals. And then all of a sudden my dad bought like a pair of like Adidas like slides, if you will. We called them sandals at the time, but now they're slides.
Yeah.
So I think 2014 is when it like
that makes
it
sense.
hit.
Yeah.
And then like
Like the Birkenstocks. They're
Right.
like, you don't
They're-
see, like Crocs and slides have cornered the market. Like
Yeah,
Crocs are an
Birks are out.
acceptable. Wasn't it Genty and Travis Hunter were wearing Crocs the other night?
Well, Crocs always make a renaissance. I feel like every couple of years, like Crocs like come back.
The
And
kids
it's
are
like
wearing
well,
them with the
oh,
little
yeah.
things you attach to
where
them.
where it first started is a lot of nurses, you know, because nurses
Sure.
are on their feet all the time.
Mhm.
So that's kind of where Crocs, I think, started. And now it's become like a casual. I mean, we've
people
gone
wear 'em to get
Crocs to
married.
Hey Dudes
The-
to
the-
Cloud Nines to hookahs.
The big resurrection of Crocs was my junior year of high school, and I remember it because I was
Easter
trying
topic.
to date this girl, and she was really into Crocs,
That's got to be good.
and that
Let me
was
just put my leg up
like
here.
her big thing. Like
Can I
she
ask
loved.
stop
Yeah,
for
go
a
ahead.
moment.
Go ahead.
She's into Crocs.
She was into Crocs.
Like, is it a fetish?
No, like as
shoe
in
or the
they were
animal?
her favorite thing to wear, and like she would like take a picture of her
Yeah.
Crocs or like buy new Crocs or whatever. And I hadn't had a pair of Crocs
Did
since
she
I
have
was like
mom jeans?
7 years old. Like I didn't know that adult Crocs were a thing. So then I bought myself a pair of Crocs to like
just to get
impress her. Yeah.
Okay.
Hey,
So
And-
that's
I'm not judging.
oh, it didn't work. No.
Aw, but your feet
Come
never
on.
been more
Do
comfortable.
you still have the Crocs?
Yeah, I do. They're camo Crocs. They're awesome.
Oh.
They're like broken now. They're one of my favorite pairs of shoes. But I worn them and I got a different pair of Crocs, and then I got a collector's pair of Crocs. I have
Wow.
Lightning
Yeah.
McQueen Crocs. So, speaking about the Husker Garage sale and collector's items, I brought something. Here they are.
These are the shorts.
Let me see these.
These are the shorts.
Those are nice. I like
Okay.
them.
Let me see these.
For those who weren't listening yesterday, I bought a pair of Nebraska team issued basketball shorts that have a
God, these
uh,
are huge.
Those are good. It's a good
celebrating
find.
Black heritage sticker on the back of them. I don't know what year they're from. I don't know if they're practice or if they were game worn. But they are long. They like go down to the knees. But
They
they were
used
a
to be the
really
style.
cool style. If you're watching on the YouTube channel,
Those are nice shorts.
Yeah.
they're quality.
Yeah.
And like the N is awesome too. Like it's a nice, really
Don't ask
big
Joel Klatt about
Nebraska
the N.
N.
Bring back the skinny end, Troy.
Do you know though what year this would be from? Do you have any idea? Because I feel like you would have.
It's a few years back
Yeah.
Show me that patch. I
because
could maybe help
they've
you.
they've done styles.
I'm gonna guess.
Two
What
or
is
th-
this?
3 or
25,
4 years
3 or
ago?
4 years ago? Yeah, because that
Yeah.
patch was one of my last years with KU and some of
Okay.
the stuff we had.
Okay. Yeah.
A
and
very
it's-
nice find.
It says ballroom.
They look like practice shorts.
They
Hmm.
do look like
Yeah.
practice shorts.
That means there's
They don't
room for
look-
your.
I
yeah.
looked at them. I go, I don't think they would wear this in a game.
How much do those cost?
$10.
That's a great deal.
Mhm.
They're
That's
awesome.
a great deal.
Yeah.
It's absolutely incredible. They
Yeah.
could be boxing shorts. They could be basketball shorts. Like they are.
You could wear those to go to the Y and play pickup, and all of a sudden Draymond Green shows up because Draymond Green will be one of those guys after retirement that just shows up at noon ball to fight people.
I could see him
Not even playing.
going
He's just fighting.
viral in the streets of Harlem in like 2029.
At
Just
Rucker
like-
Park,
Yeah, just showing up.
No, he
Just,
could-
hey,
hey.
Draymond's here.
he get his ass beat.
He won't want that smoke.
You-
6
if-
points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists last night, 1 technical foul, 1 flagrant foul,
What a
and a
classic
Golden
game.
State win in which they go 3-1. I think Draymond Green is great if you are a front-running winning team because you love him, because he's that guy that you're like, oh, that's just Draymond. He'll do Draymond things. And officials last night in that game didn't know how to officiate the game
At
because
all.
you couldn't go 5 minutes without somebody in the Rockets-Warriors game tackling somebody. But he did do a master class last night of Draymond Green stuff without getting ejected.
Yeah.
Because, he bopped Eason. But if you're losing, you hate Draymond Green and you're wishing that Jordan Poole would punch him back.
Yeah.
But if you are winning, and I mean winning, like you feel it, you're in your feels, Draymond Green is perfect for you. And that's why, like, Golden State can't get rid of him. And Draymond, there's
Yeah,
a
you're
lot.
right.
There's a lot to dislike about Draymond.
Plenty.
But last night, that was he was on full display in that game. That I think if you hate the NBA because of all the threes, but you love the 80s and the 90s,
Yeah.
you're like, what
See-
are we doing in San Francisco?
The funny thing is that the non-front running, the non-winning Draymond Green is Dylan Brooks, and they're playing that team. Like Dylan Brooks is the same exact way.
Yeah.
People in Houston don't like Dylan Brooks because they lose and he acts the way that he acts. It was the same exact reason why he got run out of Memphis, was because he acted that way, and they were great during the regular season. They hop into the playoffs and then they get knocked down in the first round. Draymond, is his Gordie Howe hat trick in fouls? One personal foul, one technical foul,
Yeah.
one flagrant foul. I mean, it was the ultimate Draymond performance. On top of that, so 6 points. It came in the first 6 points of the game. He hit 2 threes
Yeah.
to start off the game. I thought we were in the 2016 Game 7 all
Yeah.
over again, where he, by the way, what gets lost in that Game 7 in 2016 was that he was by far the best player on that court for that game. I mean,
he had to be. He was a big reason why
he-
they were there.
Yeah, he was absolutely incredible in that game, and then it gets watched away because of Kyrie and LeBron. He is
They won.
going to be he's going to be a Hall of Famer because of the NBA, because it's the NBA Hall of Fame.
Because a lot of
And
people get
A
into the
lot of people get
Pro
into the
Basketball
NBA.
Hall of Fame.
Yes, that is the reason why.
And he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
yes, I wonder
With all his
though.
Defensive Player of the Year honors.
I think of him sometimes as like, if it was the MLB Hall of Fame,
Mhm.
where would you like where would he fall? Because he's a 4-time champion and one of the best defenders on one of the best reigns of teams ever.
He would have a better path being an NFL and NBA player than a Major League Baseball player.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
He would maybe eventually make it. Maybe the Veterans Committee feels bad for him.
It would be tough. Because how do you put in a guy who only averages across his career 9 points?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And because your response is, well, look at all the defensive stuff he's done. So part of my angst with the Heat last night, and they need to blow it up, take the damn Heat culture thing off the floor, is watching Jimmy smiling and having fun.
Yeah.
But I will give him credit. I can't stand Dylan Brooks. I wrote this down watching the game. You a bum and a bitch, you weak. That's what Jimmy Butler mouthed to Dylan Brooks in that game last night.
That was awesome. It was great. I saw the clip on
Twitter. And you know what?
Then,
and it made my night even worse because I used to have that guy.
Oh,
I used to have that guy. I just had it's like, you know what? You get divorced.
And I haven't been.
So you still kind of follow your ex on social media.
Big time.
And you just came back from a date that was just god awful.
Yeah.
Okay. You went online and your date showed up and she looked nothing like the pictures. And all she did was whine and complain.
I do that to women all the time.
And then she made you pay for the bill. And you go home and you're like, what am I going to do? And you go on Facebook and you see that she is out and she's having a great time and smiling. She's out with the gals. And then there's a guy that's in there.
Yeah, his nickname is Me.
That's what I had last night watching the Heat. And then watching Jimmy Butler smiling and then doing Jimmy Butler things in the postseason.
Like you saw him like trash talk and you're like, that's cool, awesome. And then you're like,
I used to have that.
Yeah.
I had that.
Hello, darkness,
and now I don't.
Friend.
All right, Sam McEwen's coming up in an hour. We'll ask Sam, how come he did not participate in the punt challenge? The Husker games?
I told him beforehand. I did not tell Rule to say his name, but I went up to Sam on the sideline. I go, why didn't they ask you? Why aren't you doing this? It would have been perfect.
Yeah. I think, hey, credit to everybody that participated because that's not easy.
No, they did a good job.
Brian Christopherson joins us at 9, and then Andy Kendi, who is back on TV. Saw him last night at 9:45. How about them Storms, guys? How about them Storms yesterday in Omaha?
Beautiful day.
Windy. I was disappointed.
Clouds are pretty.
I was ready.
You were I was waiting on my couch
Dude, I was ready to go to a friend's house and sit in his garage and do the Midwestern thing where you sit in a lawn chair during a tornado warning and just watch the storm while you're having garage beers.
Yeah. Oh, you were really excited for that.
And I missed it.
Matt told me to be safe before I left. And I was like, I've lived in the Midwest over 20 years.
Our weatherman hyped it up like it was going to be an absolutely terrible.
Things changed a little bit as the afternoon went on.
Did the Coriolis effect? Did it not rotate in the way that we anticipated it rotating in?
Don?
Isn't that what we call it? Coriolis?
That sounds like something in your rectum or something. Like something that you take a pill or...
It's we either go to death or butts with Jamie. It's one of the two paths.
Marion?
Okay, that lineup is brought to you by the referees at John Higgins Weather Guard.
The cap prevailed. That's what happened.
Omadome, right?
The Omadome, no, because it didn't really rain.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just the system moved a little bit.
Gotcha.
Storm chasers were not happy.
Okay.
The
Dominator 3000.
He was all over TikTok yesterday. He was
Minnesota.
Was he in Minnesota?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is he the closest? Like, is that vehicle the closest thing we have to a Batmobile? Like a real?
That's a good question.
We actually have a real Batmobile out on the streets.
I know Joe Burrow bought an actual Batmobile, which is absolutely incredible. Which if I was very rich, that's what I would do.
Great
with my
gas
money.
mileage. Yeah.
But no, I mean, just in terms of like a homemade Batmobile, that's got to be the closest thing, for sure. I mean, that is a homemade Batmobile. It just happens to do weather as opposed to like fighting criminals in Gotham.
Might be an oversized DeLorean.
Yeah. Oh, fighting tornadoes.
That's a good one.
It will not be in the area today, but there will be baseball today. There's the Kids' Day downtown at the Downtown Day Trader between Omaha and Creighton. And then the Storm Chasers are back in town. Thyron Blanco is going to do a rehab here, and MJ Melendez will make his Omaha debut after being sent down. Not go so well on the road out there in Toledo for the Storm Chasers or Mr. Melendez.
12 o'clock game for?
11. Both are going at 11.
Okay.
You know what? You'd think they could time it better.
Yeah, you think.
Yeah. But if you like kids, Downtown is where you should go today for the annual kids game between Omaha and Creighton.
Tanks, but no tanks.
All right, we're off and running. It's a Tuesday edition of Gary and Matt with Jimmy on 1620 The Zone. This is a great song, but not this morning. Not this morning.
You know, it's funny.
It's not funny. They lost by 55.
You and I.
It was 72-33 at halftime.
It wasn't even that close.
Ronnie Cycli's early 90s Heat teams could have given the Cavs a better performance last night.
What's funny about it is that I experienced my first true NBA heartbreak with the same guy, with the same player.
Ronnie Cycli?
With Jimmy Butler.
Oh.
No, with Jimmy. Because I was never, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I love Derrick Rose and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But when he left, it was time. Like it was time for him to go. He needed to move on. We needed to move on. It was good. It was good for his brand. It was good for our brand. Jimmy didn't need to go. Jimmy didn't need to get traded. Okay. We did not need to get Chris Dunn in the 7th overall pick. All right. For Jimmy Butler. He could have stayed. We could have done Jimmy and the kids. Jimmy, Nikola, and the kids, as opposed to Dwayne Wade and Rajon Rondo and all these. We could have just done Jimmy and the kids and figured it out. No. We got to trade him to Minnesota. And then I was there for his first game back in Chicago. Him and Taj Gibson both. And that was really emotional. Yeah. And then he got to the free throw line 13 times that game. He made 12 free throws. And the whole time I was thinking, man, I miss it when he did that for us. He's such a good free throw merchant. Like his ability to get to the line, like you don't recognize it until he does it against your team.
Yeah. I mean, when he's happy, he's really, really good. When he is not happy, he's a pain in the butt.
How often?
And he brings the rest of the team down with you, and you make weird decisions and bad trades, and it affects your roster, and then you're the Heat, who in their series against the Cavaliers, 4 games. Now, the Cavs are really good, but they're not 122 points better than the Heat. That's the point differential in 4 games, 122. It was bad on Saturday, and I thought, it can't get worse. 3 minutes in, I'm like, it's gotten worse.
I've never seen you like this before.
Oh,
this is great. Typically, I'm the one who is really upset at my team.
Well, before you, it was
underperforming and breaking my heart.
There are winners and losers.
Yes, there are. That's
okay. There has to be winners and losers in competition. But when your team that you root for clearly quits,
yes,
that's where it sucks. I can take losing. Okay, I've had plenty of losing in my life. Sure. Some people call me a loser, and you know what? Some days I'm okay with it. But when your team quits, then I can't.
Yeah.
If you beat me by 25, hey, not our day. It's a make or miss sport. But when you quit, then I got issues, and then we have to look deeper. And someone's head's got to roll. It might be the guy in the ticket office, okay, that makes a call today.
Sure.
Okay, and he doesn't secure a renewal of a season ticket. Got to go. Somebody's head's got to roll.
It might be somebody in marketing.
Yes.
Could be. I was about to say, what if it's Spoelstra? That'd be really tough for you to lose Sullivan. To lose Sullivan and Spoelstra in one go around would be a tough day for Mr. Gary Sharp.
How about, so my hockey team, boys 16 and 17 were bangers.
They were.
We
don't talk about those teams enough, by the way.
And what Mike Sullivan has done. But how about the ironic part of 2 Pittsburgh teams got rid of Mike Sullivan yesterday? The Penguins and the Steelers. The Steelers had somebody on their staff that is named Mike Sullivan.
That's funny.
And they both were taken off their respective websites yesterday.
Cousins, you think?
I don't know. I think Mike Sullivan is a common name.
How many there's got to be so many people in New York who went to a high school with Mike Sullivan.
Yeah. Mike Sullivan is a very, very that's a common first and last name combo.
You want to get a lot of heads turning down a road in New York. Just go Sully. You got about 6 heads turning. Be like, what's up?
Boston be even better.
So yesterday,
good point.
The portal taketh. The portal is not giveth.
No.
As we are on Marty Brown watch. Do you think Cal just trolled the state of Nebraska yesterday by offering Braylon Warren, the rising junior quarterback at Westside, a scholarship?
Probably.
When was the last time somebody from around here played football at Cal?
Okay, I was wondering that. I figured you might know.
Well, I can't recall.
I was like,
at Cal,
I didn't know if this was a
normal thing? Well, in the state of California, it's happened, but I'm talking specifically Berkeley.
I can do some research here. I don't have anybody off the top of my head. Not even Lincoln. When I was following Lincoln,
Cal made an offer yesterday to Braylon Warren. So we're on Marty Brown watch. We'll talk more about that a little bit later. But the portal tooketh 2 away, and I tooketh 2 off my list. And I believe, according to my math, Nebraska is at 127 with Nico, the kicker, and Grant, the tackle, being gone. Now, here's the oddity of the situation. So Grant Segrin is somebody that we've alluded to now for 2 days.
Yeah.
Because he went into the portal on Thursday. He was not there on Saturday. But like Nico, the kicker, who went into the portal yesterday, had to have been in the portal maybe Friday, went through the kicking competition.
Yeah, the Husker games.
So think about this. If you're in the portal, and it usually takes about 24 to 48 hours for everything to process before the Pete Nikos of the world and the
Thambles,
Joe Tipton, they get word of who's in the portal.
Or the
So can you imagine walking around and not telling anybody that you're no longer part of the team, that you're in the portal and you're just waiting for that tweet from On3 or 24/7 that says blank is in the portal? Because Seigerman went into the portal on Thursday.
Yeah.
He wasn't there on Saturday. I think some of us that were there, we started to go through the limited roster that actually dressed to play.
Yes.
And you were starting to go, okay, who's here, who's not? Let's look on the sidelines, who's here or not.
There was a couple where
and there's a couple defensive backs that were not there. So I maybe that comes today.
Sure.
But think about, I don't know if it's anxiety, but you're like, okay, people bump into Grant Seigerman and they're like, hey man, I heard you had a good spring. Hey man, I heard you're moving up the depth chart.
Yeah.
You don't really say anything. You just kind of, hey, thanks. GBR. I'm a Nebraskan for life. I'll always be a
always be a
graduate
Husker.
of Oakland Craig. I'll always be a Husker. But you can't say anything.
No.
And then all of a sudden it comes out. And the response yesterday was kind of interesting because we've talked about this, and this is what we do, is we try and read into what things are said at the podium.
Yes.
Whether they be unsolicited or solicited. Sometimes when a coordinator, a head coach, or a position coach brings up a player that is not like a frontline guy.
Yeah.
And it's unsolicited, you go, Then I think we've gotten better in the day and age of the portal where, okay, what is his intention here?
That's twice now.
But I think in this case, it's not what you think with Grant Seigerman. And you brought this up a while ago when John Butler first spoke, that he didn't go into specific names, and we wondered, is that because he doesn't want outside programs to go,
oh, that guy's playing.
Mason Goldman, who, by the way, if I was a college program, I would tamper the hell out of Mason Goldman. He might not start at Nebraska.
Sure.
He's a damn good football player from Gretna who is a valuable member. But him and Dylan Parrott, I would tamper the hell out of them. But Nebraska is fortunate that they're on the roster. But those are two guys that I would pursue. But in this case, don't you think it's the opposite of Rhule? And he talked about it last year. I mean, Seigerman played 36 snaps last year. With all the injuries, he got into, I think, 7 games. He played 36 snaps. He mentions his name, and we're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is this an MJ Sherman thing? Is he building him up to, or Chief Borders? Chief Borders. By the way, MJ Sherman signed a free agent deal. Chief Borders, is he building him up so somebody goes, oh, put that guy on our radar?
Yeah.
I think this is the opposite. I think this is, man, we liked him. Maybe we gave too much praise, and then it was like, okay, what's my worth?
Well,
I think this is opposite of what we normally think about names being mentioned.
So look at,
I don't think Nebraska wanted to lose him.
Look at the quote, right? The quote is, forget all that walk-on stuff. That's in your own head. He's a big-time player in my mind. What that tells me, what that communicates to me, is that you got to forget about where you rank amongst other people. You got to forget about not being on scholarship. You got to forget about what you're making and how many dollars you're bringing in. You just have to go out and you have to go and play, and you have to continue to raise up the roster. Because for the other, you got to look at the other ones that they've kind of put out there, right? Matt Rhule, when he talks about some of these other dudes who end up going in the portal, it's always, well, he's having a great camp and he's doing really great stuff. DeAndre Barnes is someone who's rising up the roster. Chief Borders has been super, super impressive, right? This quote wasn't that. That wasn't this quote. This quote was a, hey, dude, like you gotta figure your own stuff out because we actually believe in you. And I think that
he was in he was inside of the 105
easily. And I was told the same thing too, that this wasn't because because sometimes you have guys who have the expectations of being a starter and then they get passed up upon, and then maybe they enter the transfer portal because they still have some worth and they can go somewhere else and find greener pastures and restart. This was the opposite of that. This was a guy who, I don't know how high the expectations were, but he exceeded those expectations and got to the point where multiple people were telling me, hey, it's a guy that's looking pretty good right now. So I think that this is just honestly something
testing your worth on the current roster.
Absolutely.
Of, hey, can we have a discussion about, and I don't know what a walk-on offensive lineman would be getting in terms of NIL.
Sure.
But did it come to a situation where, hey, I'm having a good spring, you like me clearly, can we revisit this? And maybe Nebraska was at a point where they couldn't revisit it. And I don't blame, we just went through the NFL draft. How many guys were drafted? 500?
In the NFL draft?
No. How many guys were drafted? 250?
254.
Okay. I don't know why
you're good.
500. I combined a couple of drafts.
Hey, flu game.
Yeah. This is my flu game.
Flu game.
Not everybody's going to make the NFL.
No.
Okay. So if you have a chance in college to maximize any money you're worth, I think you have to do it. It's the day and age of what we're going. But in this case,
look at Quinn Ewers, how much money he gave us.
I think in this case, it's the opposite of, hey, we're praising a guy, so we build him up so someone comes and helps him because we don't see a path to him. I think in this case, Nebraska wanted, because if you think about their development, like Grant Segrin is perfect for what they want to do.
Sure.
That's a good point. I'm having a good spring. I would just like to revisit some things maybe on the NIL side. And Nebraska's like, God dang it. Shoot, we're kind of hamstrung here. And then it's, timing is perfect. Look at some offensive linemen in the portal from FCS schools that are landing at spots that you would have never thought.
Sure.
I think Grant Segrin, because we're 6'6", 310, you've got a little experience under your belt, but you have multiple years of eligibility. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up at a really good spot.
I wouldn't be surprised
because of the timing of we're now going into May. People are always looking for linemen. They have space available. They have a little money available.
That, and
maybe Nebraska didn't have money available.
You have another one of those things too, where it's like you now understand what you have on the offensive line, and I guarantee you that there is no school across the country that is totally happy with how many guys they have on the offensive line. And so you look at the measurables, and then maybe you read reports that this guy's had a really, really good spring at Nebraska. Hey, we're going to bring him in. We're going to give him a shot or whatnot. But I do also think that this is a reality that we might face and that every team across the country is going to face, is when you have a guy that's not making a lot of money or any money at all, depending on the situation, and they start playing better and they start rising up the ranks amongst guys who are making a lot of money, you're going to have players who naturally start looking around being like, hey, where's my paycheck at? Because I'm better than this guy. And I'm playing and I'm
spot on
and I'm outperforming him. Why does he get all that and I get nothing? Can we do something here? And
that I don't know. This is a question.
And this isn't Nebraska specific. This is a general thing.
This is a question I need to ask is, like, you're hearing, so for example, the Tennessee quarterback that was still at Tennessee when Nico left, and he's still at Tennessee when Aguilar gets traded.
Yeah.
They just announced yesterday that he signed his contract. Okay. So they probably did some negotiating there.
Sure.
I don't know enough about the behind the scenes if you can renegotiate during the season, because you do have contract negotiations.
Yes.
That's Pop Isaacs. Creighton said, hey, the money isn't going to be the same as it was this past year because, the injury concerns, but we still want you.
Yeah.
And Pop is like, nah, man, I want the same or more. And Creighton has to go, well, it's just not going to happen.
Sure.
And, good luck. And, Pop probably got paid pretty handsomely at Houston. I don't know if you can, in the middle of a year, renegotiate. And then when are contracts signed? Like, are they signed in January? But what if you do have a good spring?
Yeah.
Are they signed in the middle of the summer? And what happens if you go from being the third string cornerback to all of a sudden on day one, 120 days from now, you're starting. Do you get to renegotiate?
I have no idea. My idea of NIL is that it's just incredibly cookie cutter in terms of we have this amount of money. Yeah. We were going to offer you this when you sign the contract. You're going to be paid this at this time. That's my understanding of it. If this was the NFL, what would have happened is the general manager would have went up to another player and said, hey, you're supposed to make this amount of money this year. We're going to give you a signing bonus. We'll give you money up front now. We're going to clear out room for X amount of that's going to clear about X amount of dollars in cap space. We're going to take that cap space. We're going to go and give this player this amount of money. And that's like just how cap flexibility works and renegotiations work within the NFL. This is I have no clue. And that is the biggest problem when it comes to like the transfer portal and roster, when you're building the roster and whatnot, when you're looking at it as an outside source. I have no idea what their financials are. I don't know who's making what money. I don't know if there is some validity in terms of like this guy shouldn't be making this much or this guy shouldn't be making that much. I have no idea. Like we go, well, okay, Nebraska wants to go out and get Marty Brown, and I think they really should go out and get Marty Brown. I have no clue how much money they have available, and we have no idea how much money Cal has available. And so it's hard to judge how they build their roster and what decisions they're making because we don't know that information. And so it's just it's super hard to like.
Well, it's a judge, and you got to make who are you choosing as your priority?
Exactly.
Like what. And how you construct your roster on how many offensive linemen you're going to have. We'll get into this maybe with Sam coming up here in about 30 minutes. Like, is it guaranteed that every year on your 105 you have 2 slots for a kicker and 2 slots for a punter? Because Nebraska is now down 2 spots for a kicker, and one of them has been injury prone but is now healthy. That's where the general manager comes in.
Yes.
And that's where the coach says, God, I want to keep you. Because we see a path and we're going to find a spot and you're inside of our 105. You got to go talk to Pat. And Pat has to be the reaper where he goes, if in what NIL is supposed to be, you'd say, hey, we'll go find you some more jerky sponsorship.
Yeah.
But in this day, it's pay for play and
we're locked up.
Yeah.
And by the way, we're paying 3 different guys at your position this amount of money.
Yep. All right, Sam McEwen will join us coming up in 30 minutes. In your man cave, your board should say 127. So do the math. 22 spots.
Or if it were up to Troy Dannon, nobody would get cut.
We'd even add people. We could have had tryouts for people on Saturday.
We get back up to 150.
Screw the NCAA. Say that daily. We're back with hour 2 of Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. So Coldplay is going on tour this summer in the U.S.
Done. Be there.
But it's very limited.
Smaller venues?
Well, no, they're going to be at Stanford Stadium.
Oh, okay. Oh,
then they're going to go to the Roomba. Then they're going to go to Mile High. Then they're going to do 2 shows at the Sun Bowl in El Paso.
Oh, of course.
And then they're going up to Canada. They also are doing a show, Dannon. Yeah. They're going to camp. Because they're going to Camp Randall in the middle of July. Like all of a sudden at Wisconsin. And listen, if I'm a college and I need money, I am turning my stadium, my football stadium, into a year-round venue. So Wisconsin all of a sudden has become aggressive in concerts. I think Nebraska, once they get the stadium done, will go back to, an idea that Trev started of let's make this a year-round destination. How much money do you think Clemson made this past weekend when the Bananas were there and they drew 81,000 people?
Absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. How much money do they make? Probably a lot of money. So Memorial Stadium, okay? In my time that I've been here in Nebraska, so this is, I guess we're up to like 5 years now.
Long time.
Way back.
Okay?
Long time.
There's been 2 concerts. One of them was Volleyball Day in Nebraska with Scotty McCreery. Mm-hmm. That doesn't count. There's only been 1 concert in Memorial Stadium in 5 years. So I'm asking you this question. With Garth Brooks and everything like that, what is the barrier for entry in terms of what is stopping them from using it? Is it just it doesn't have the infrastructure?
Well, a little bit the way it was built, it is difficult to get trucks into.
Okay.
Trucks for concerts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can't back down a semi. No, like you see NFL venues, where you can load in and load out.
Sure, easily.
So it's not as easy to do in Memorial Stadium because just the way it is built.
Sure.
So that limits a little bit. Also, like last year, there weren't as many because Taylor Swift and Beyonce were sucking the life out of the outdoor shows.
If you were
there were not as many artists that were touring.
Yeah. Because if you were going to a concert last year, you were not only just going to those 2 concerts, you were spending a lot of money to go to those 2 concerts. So that's a good point as well.
I got an update on the Bananas in Memorial Stadium, though.
What's your update?
So, Kyle Perry is playing for the Bananas.
Yes.
And the Savannah Bananas, as they grow, they are doing NFL stadiums and Major League Baseball stadiums.
It is incredible.
And then they do their regular tour of games back in their home base in Savannah.
Yeah.
They go to Des Moines, so they play where the iCubs are, but their minor league stadiums are getting fewer and fewer. So I was told this, and they are already working on their world tour for 2026. They do not reach out to you.
Oh, wow.
You have to reach out to them, and then you have to put a presentation together on why this would be a spot for the Bananas to make an appearance. I don't know. It's not like, hey, Kyle Perry goes to Jesse, the yellow-suited big hat guy that runs the Bananas and says, hey, I played baseball at Nebraska. They have an incredible fan base. I think the Bananas playing in Memorial Stadium would be fantastic.
You need a PowerPoint.
It has to start from Nebraska, and Nebraska has to make a presentation to the Bananas. But if they're going to do it, they've got to do it here soon because they are putting together their tour schedule for 2026, and there's a ton of competition.
Yeah.
And they announce it like in November.
So how did they become the WWE so quickly?
What do you mean the WWE?
It is. If we're being honest, it is very WWE vibes where you're taking a.
No. I don't know that you would see Jeff Passan go to a Bananas game, but I saw Jeff Passan at Raw in Kansas City last night.
He looked like a nerd with the OTC and then putting the
he's my favorite nerd.
Putting the one up.
Shout out Johnson County.
He's acknowledging his tribal chief.
How come we haven't had more Revenge of the Nerds movies?
Do you know what?
Would they get canceled today? Would you be able to do that?
Those movies? Seen one of them.
They cancel everything, so I'm just going to assume
everything. So
John Goodman should have won an Oscar.
Here's a funny thing too. Like grown men will go, I would never wear another man's jersey on my back. I would never do that. But then they go to WWE events and they go, I acknowledge you, my tribal chief. They call another man their tribal chief. I would never wear a Justin Jefferson jersey, but they'll look at Roman Reigns, put one hand in the sky and be like, I acknowledge you. I acknowledge you. It's a very weird contrast. Jeff Passan's a nerd, but he's our nerd. He's our nerd. He's our baseball nerd. Real quick, I'm just saying they are the WWE. They've taken a sport, right, that people very much enjoy, and they've added, they've taken the realism out of like it being a you're not going to know super competitive type deal, and they scripted out said sport to make it incredibly entertaining, but it still is baseball. Like they're still playing baseball.
Yeah.
They're not really playing and trying to win a game.
We say that about the Royals.
But they've ridden.
Hey, now.
When I was in school,
we used to say that about 5-1 homestand.
Oh, yeah.
Big series starting in Tampa.
Who were they playing? I mean,
they played the Astros.
They played the Astros.
Well, they played the Rockies too.
Lots of teams.
I don't think no one should apologize for having the Rockies on your schedule. So what? They're 4-23, and they're on pace to be worse than the White Sox of last year. But continue on.
I forget what team schedule I was looking at. I was like, oh, it was the Twins. I was like, oh, they're picking it up, and I go, oh, they played the Marlins and Rockies. Okay, no big deal.
They're on a pace to win 23 games.
Crazy.
The 23 and then the other number would be kind of lopsided.
Hey, go and text your Rockies buddy today and just be like, hey, how you doing? Are you doing well? Anyway, though, they are the WWE. The Savannah Bananas are the WWE, and how the WWE operates is that the WWE doesn't come to you and say, hey, do you want to host a SummerSlam? Okay? The cities that host these events. So, like, there's a reason New Orleans hosts a lot of WrestleManias because they want to, and they go up to them and they say, hey, we want to host a WrestleMania. Here's what we can provide for you. Here's what we'll pay to you for you to bring the event here. That's how this happens. It is absolutely incredible that the Savannah Bananas have already done that they already have that power where they don't go to you being like, hey, we really think it'd be a great thing for us if we played. No, it's an honor for us to play in your stadium. In that short amount of time, for them to accomplish that is absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous and impressive.
I think, though, as much as I think it would be incredible to see the Savannah Bananas playing in Memorial Stadium, I think you're going to see in the offseason Nebraska softball try and break the all-time attendance record of it's only 13,000 and play in Memorial Stadium next year in Jordy Ball's last year.
Hey, I'll just say it. Maybe it's an outlandish.
I'm pretty sure that Stanford game 2 weeks ago broke the record, and it's only 13,000. So you put Jordy Ball and Nebraska softball in Memorial Stadium next year, and that was an idea that they had about Nebraska and Oklahoma playing in Memorial Stadium.
Draw.
They play there, and they set the outdoor or not. That's where softball is played. Thank you. The attendance record for college softball.
I think they could get 50 to 60,000 for that game. With Jordy Ball, with how good she's playing, she might end up being the National Player of the Year this year. Hometown player, a team that overall, the roster itself is a very good roster, and we'll see what they'll do next season, but they are a very good team right now. If you were to get Oklahoma to a national power like that, her former team, you would get people from, I'm not saying you would get a ton of people from Norman, but you would get people from Norman who would come
I don't
to
think
that
it
game.
would happen now, but it was something that was thrown around. But they've got to act quickly because Ohio State has approached Oklahoma about playing a softball game in Ohio Stadium. So they'd go into the Horseshoe.
That'd be incredible too.
Oklahoma softball, this is how big they are. They've been approached about having Oklahoma, Texas play in the Cotton Bowl.
Wow. I mean, it would be an absolutely incredible accomplishment if Nebraska were able to do that at Memorial Stadium. And then we would have to start talking about where does Jordy Ball rank amongst box office Nebraska athletes that off of her back, if they were able to play a game in that venue and legitimately get a massive capacity crowd.
Well, that and you'd say, hey, we're out to set a record. And you know how Nebraska fans respond. Before we get to Random Mike here, this is from John. If Grant Segrin leaving is about money, they should have taken every penny that 69 is getting and give it to him. John's going to be really upset if Turner Corcoran is one of the starting guards on opening day.
I was about to say, we love John. I love John's tweets and emails, and I'm always happy to read them, but it's a lot of Corcoran. It's a lot of Turner.
Here is Random Mike. Good morning, Mike.
That is a great idea about Jordy Ball at Memorial Stadium.
Hey, set the record. You could, at minimum, 20K would go in there. Now, I don't know about the dimensions. You'd have to work on that.
Yeah, but I don't know.
But if you... they would make it work.
They made it work for volleyball. They can do it for softball. No doubt about it. It's I love the word generational.
Sure,
she's generational.
She is.
Caitlin Clark is generational, and we got her. But Gary, I'm trying to cheer you up here. The Cubs lead the league in stolen bases. Do you know the last time that happened for the Cubs?
Lou Brock was playing for the Cubs, or Bobby Dernier.
No.
Billy Hamilton?
It was like 1912. Think about that.
That was, you know what? That wasn't a bad year.
Yeah. Well, I bet it. What
Charlie Huff.
What was his last name? Fast Shoe Smith or something? I mean, if he did, I'm just saying, if he did it in 1912, it's probably Quick Feet Johnson.
You know what I think, Mike? Though that is important because their offense is exceeded my expectations early on. They also are walking.
They are. Great point.
So they're getting on base.
We were talking about Counsell, and we were all three of us were kind of disappointed in his first year. But as Matt said, let's give it another year.
Yep.
And I think we're seeing the real Counsell now, and he's really focusing on that walk, stolen bases. No,
I don't. I think I still have some doubts when it comes to him handling the bullpen, and not only just in a game situation, but definitely from a day-to-day, game-to-game situation. Because I do think they get themselves.
Bullpen had been okay of late until Mayweather in the 10th the other night.
But there has been multiple times where they're like, "Oh, we are at the bottom of the barrel in terms of pitching because we haven't properly planned this out, where we're throwing some of our worst pitchers in high leverage moments at the end of series."
His biggest thing right now, Mike, I like this that all three Cub fans are chatting it up, is what are they going to do with Dansby Swanson? Yeah. Because they can't have him hitting fifth. And that left side of the infield right now until Matt Shaw gets things turned around in Iowa is a bad spot. But Dansby Swanson needs to be shot to the bench for a while because he is killing the Cubs.
What about his defense? What do you say about that?
As long as it doesn't affect his defense, but at the plate, I've never seen him look this lost.
He looked lost last year, and this has happened too with Cubs free agents, where they come in, they sign big contracts, and they have to adjust to just their lives, right?
Kyle
Moving. Not Kyle Tucker, but Yu Darvish had to do that. John Lester had to do that. Jason Hayward had to do that. Dansby had to do that. It's a common thing where you come in, you move locations, you sign this big contract, it's a new clubhouse, whatever. You're given an adjustment period. We are at the point now where somehow he looks even worse than he did last year. And last year was his worst season of his career.
No, this is all true, and if you notice, and trust me, they got some good people. They're helping the hitting. Yeah. A lot of the hitters have really gotten better. Would you agree with that?
I would totally agree with that.
Pete Crow Armstrong
looks like Willie Mays out there.
I mean, Michael Bush. Hey. Carson Kelly. Yeah,
and it's going to happen with Dansby. Yeah, if his defense wasn't so good, he would be definitely sitting. But it's pretty clear he's trying to pull, and he's pulling out and stuff, and that'll get better. Look at the Huskers hitting. I mean, it's gotten a lot better.
Sure.
Hey, are you so let me ask you, Mike. Okay, it is April 29th. The weather is warming up. Tonight is the start of an 8-game homestand in Lincoln. Kansas State is there. If that doesn't feel like an NCAA regional atmosphere in game, what are we doing here? Because K-State is on the bubble. Is this the time that they turn things around? Things get serious. The weather warms up. 8-game homestand. And Nebraska finally looks like what Nebraska is supposed to look like. Yay or nay?
Definitely yay, don't you think?
I can't trust this.
Well, let's talk about this next Tuesday after they've gone through K-State tonight, Minnesota on the weekend, ahead of the last Creighton game next week.
Hey, the big thing is the conference games. I mean, they obviously got to get in the tournament, and they got a chance to win. But I love the idea of Jordy Ball at Memorial Stadium, and they can pull it off. Yeah. And she is generational. It's just great to watch. And I want us to get a home regional and they probably got to win the Big Ten tournament to get that, don't you think?
Well, so the voice of Nebraska softball, Nate Rohr, seems to think that it's going to be tough for them to get a home regional because they're not getting a lot of help with their RPI.
Yeah, it's 25th right now.
So they might just be on they just might be on the outside.
No, that's what I'm saying. They got to win the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah, but he was
in the Big Ten tournament. You've got two highly rated teams.
Yeah, but he doesn't think that'll be enough. And I trust Nate. I mean, maybe it could be they could sneak in, but I don't. I think they're a 2 seed going somewhere. So, Mike, thanks for the phone call. One thing I did see, so they have Nebraska softball and Nebraska baseball are home this weekend. Has Nebraska softball not sold out Boylan Stadium this year?
Oh, I can look that up.
Because they're doing a promotional piece. You know, they expanded the capacity.
Yeah, and didn't they like sell out season tickets last season and this season like pretty damn
but
quickly?
they do keep some singles.
Sure.
But I saw that was their promotion to help us do something the only thing we haven't done all year, and that is sell out Boylan Stadium. I'm telling you, if you've not seen her pitch, you got to watch the people to go watch her warm up. It's incredible. It reminds me of the days of Komine and Jabba throwing in the bullpen at Haymarket Park where people would line just to watch them warm up. All right, Sam McEwen will join us before the hour is over. A little bit later, Brian Christopherson, Andy Kendi, as we put a semi-wrap on spring football and move forward with roster construction and how many post-spring polls Nebraska will be ranked in. On 3 loves themselves some Skurs. Number 22. What? What?
I don't know about that.
Also, you knew it was coming. I'm going to give you something that you're going to hate, a former Husker. It's going to make your blood boil.
Okay. I like my blood boiling.
Not tampering, but stealing.
Ooh.
We roll till 10 on a Tuesday morning. Gary and Matt and Jimmy in 1620 The Zone. Hey, you know what time of the year it is? It is storm season around here, and unfortunately, there will be lightning, there will be hail, and there will be damage to your home and your roof. And so what do you do if you're in that category where your siding or your gutters or your roof have taken a beating? There's only one place to go. My good friends, the MVPs of roofing in Omaha, bar none. Unanimous. Pat Moose and the crew at Moose Roofing. An Omaha roofing company. They've been here for nearly 30 years, doing work from Western Iowa all the way to Lincoln. They're focused on the whole process, whether it be residential, commercial, roof repair, service, siding, gutters. They just don't show up at your house and go, your roof needs to be fixed. They sit down with you beforehand, before they ever get up on your roof, and take a look at what you need. They have a firm belief in everything, the key elements of your roof, and they explain it to you, and then they go to work to put a new roof on your house, and also the proper and preventive maintenance so you can save thousands over the lifetime of your roof. And the other thing they do that sets them apart, not only their top-notch customer service and the work that they do, remember, they don't leave the job site and all of a sudden you got crap all over the place. They pick up after themselves, and they make sure that your insurance company is going to work with you. They navigate that very difficult insurance claims process. They have an entire department that is dedicated to just doing that. They are the whole operation to make you feel better about putting a new roof on your house, siding, or gutters. For an inspection and for more information, pretty easy. Go online to mooseroofing.com. All right, good Tuesday morning, everybody. All of our friends that are on the stream. Also, good morning, Internet. Go get them. Or don't. I'm not your dad. Welcome in.
Who needs to go get them? The Internet in general? Or
you know what? I feel like this could be, because it's the 100th day of President Trump back in the White House. I'm sure the Internet will have good takes.
Yeah, probably a good day to stay off of Twitter if we're being honest.
It depends. I mean, there could be there's good conversation that is exchanged. Right?
Is it just me, or is it like, because I try and tailor my algorithm in a certain way for my job, and I feel like, and I'm just asking,
that's not a fun For You page.
Well, because my job is what I enjoy. I enjoy sports, and so I tailor it to sports.
Save it for the meeting.
I don't. Is it just me, or is can I not get away from politics on my For You page? Like, no matter what I do, like, it's just politics are always popping up.
Sounds like you follow a lot of athletes that say, I'm not going to talk about politics, and the next thing they do, they talk about politics. That sounds like what your For You page is.
Or I follow athletes that, say they don't talk about politics, and then they have 18 holes with the president of the United States and then end up taking a jet to the White House with him. He got a lot of flack for that.
Would you like to comment further on Saquon Barkley yesterday?
No, absolutely.
I feel like you were going there.
What is there to comment? Statement? The guy was just out golfing.
Let's see here. I'm watching my first thing that comes up on my For You page is a gentleman doing a trick of he poured sugar in his hand.
Oh, Street Magic?
Non-aesthetic things at pictures folder. Oh, I might watch this 57 times.
My first thing that pops up is a college football Twitter account that says, who do you think was the biggest 5-star bust of the past 10 years?
Mine is Shaq.
Of the past 10 years?
No, that's one of my For You page. I thought I'd have something a little more like,
Well, okay, so if you are on the old internets, I think he is going to, and this might be crazy to say, of the list of crazy things that I've said in my lifetime, Keisei Tominaga will be more popular than he was at Nebraska. And remember, his time at Nebraska, we didn't get to fully experience Keisei because it really took some injuries in his junior year for him to play more and for him to just take off.
We really only got a year and a half.
Yes. And that year and a half was magical, where he became one of the most popular student athletes at the University of Nebraska. So much that he is going to get married to somebody that is from North Platte. So he is one of us.
Yes.
But now that he is left, he has got a shoe that Curry wore last week.
Yeah.
There is a brand new, it just dropped, featuring, and I'm sorry, I apologize, I cannot name any of these athletes outside of Keisei Tominaga. In Japan, Keisei Tominaga is featured in an Under Armour commercial. And he's with a gymnast, I think a soccer player.
Sure.
So Keisei is blowing up. Can you imagine? He just finished his first year in the G League. Can you imagine if by chance he gets that cup of coffee in the NBA and he gets a moment that goes viral and people see him make a ridiculous Keisei Tominaga shot? How many people are going to just go nuts over Keisei Tominaga? I think, we saw a little bit of the Japanese media that covered him, how big his story is back home. It just almost feels like we didn't get enough of Keisei, that Keisei has become more popular, even maybe in some of the Nebraska fan base, post-Nebraska basketball career. This is pretty cool, this ad.
Yeah.
It's about a 30-second ad. It's from Under Armour. And I think
I'm looking at it right now.
Is that Ohtani that is in this ad as well? It's a baseball player that looks like Ohtani hitting from the left side of the plate.
So I see the soccer player. I see the gymnast.
It's for a company under Armour's brand called
like
Heat
Ohtani.
Gear.
The guy's built like, no, it's Yanagiti.
Okay.
It says on the here, it's Yangita. Is what the baseball player is. Keisei Tominaga gets a lot of run on Mad Ant's Twitter. Whenever the Mad Ants post him, he gets, and not just from Nebraska fans, from some Mad Ants fans or big fans of Keisei Tominaga. Okay, so I think a weird comparison for Casey would be Seth. You remember Seth Curry? Not Steph Curry. Seth Curry.
Okay.
Steph's younger
Still
brother.
in the NBA?
Yes.
I don't believe
Did he disappear with the Mavericks?
I remember Dell as well.
So he was with Dallas. He was with
So does
Philadelphia.
his ex-wife.
He was with He was with Portland. Like, the guy could not play defense. He was not a good defensive player, but he was on these teams because they knew in the playoffs when they needed some like big transition threes, or like they were down and they could sacrifice a little defense for offense, they would put Seth Curry out there. And when Portland made it to the Western Conference Finals, and I believe it was 2018, he was actually a pretty big part of that run. I think Casey, in a similar sense, now he's a little bit smaller than Seth, could be like that at the peak, like his peak. Like, if he really exceeds expectations, does what he needs to do, like develops, more like the skills that you need to play in the NBA. I think that is a type of position that he could get. Your type of 9 to 12 minute, hey, we're down, we can sacrifice defense, spark plug off the bench, because he's got that shooting ability. He shot 46.4%, something ridiculous like that from three in the G League. Like, he can't play many minutes because his defense isn't great.
I'll be in Vegas for the Summer League, because you'll have Cooper Flagg out there if Indiana sends Tominaga there. Think about, and we'll get in this with Sam next. Nebraska athletics. So some of the most popular college athletes, from Doug McDermott to a host of volleyball players, think about what they have on campus in Lincoln right now. And Jordy Ball is a little bit older.
Sure.
But they have Harper Murray,
star.
And by the way, go back 1 year ago when the bus is pulling into Kearney for their exhibition and all hell breaks loose on Harper Murray where she is now.
Insanity.
Kudos to her and John Cook and people that have helped her, including her mother and her sister. You have her, and you still have 2 more years of Harper Murray. You still got 3 more years of Britt Prince. You still have essentially 3 more years of Dylan Raiola.
Yeah.
You have a good collection of young face of the program athletes that are in Lincoln right now.
Can I give you one more? Did you say Andy Jackson?
No.
I think that
I think not as big as
no,
Harper
not
Murray.
as big. I'm not as big as those players, but I think on the cusp, and especially if she has like an incredible, like emerges as like a national player of the year type season this season, she could emerge into that as well. I just want to throw that out there because I'm a big Andy Jackson fan.
She's a dominant player. I think Harper Murray is on a whole nother level compared to Harper Murray and Dylan Raiola are on a whole different level that we've never seen in Lincoln before, in terms of they embrace being the face and they are out there. Like, their brand and selling Nebraska is out there 24/7. All right, Sam McKewon sells the brand of the World Herald.
He's good. Well, if he wanted to do that, he would have caught a punt at the
No. Those of us that are past our prime of catching a punt out of a jugs machine. Now, if they would have done it where Boom Sheeny was punting, I would have signed up for it.
That would have been cool,
because I think I could track it better than one coming out of the jugs machine.
If Coach Rule was going, Gary Sharp, where's Gary Sharp at? Can we get Gary Sharp here? Would you have run down? Would you have sprinted down for the stands?
Because I would have been.
I'm coming, Coach. I'm coming.
Because I would have been afraid of the Nebraska football Twitter account. Sam McKewon
they really grilled
us.
him. I mean, they got after him.
He joins us next. Not him, but Sam McKewon on 1620 The Zone. All right, let's welcome in our good friend from the Omaha World Herald, Sam McEwen. Good morning, Sam.
Hey, what's going on?
Nothing. We're going to get into your thoughts on the Husker games in just a moment.
Yeah, don't you worry about it.
Don't run anywhere.
Yeah.
Right. Let me ask you, and I imagine that you guys are going to write about this. So about a year ago, Nebraska volleyball went to Kearney to play their annual summer or their spring exhibition match. Harper Murray was not going to be with them because her sister was graduating from Michigan, so she was going to be back home in Ann Arbor. As the bus is pulling up on a Friday before the Saturday scrimmage in Kearney, John Cook is in the front row and he gets this text about, Harper Murray is in trouble. If you go from that moment to, heck, even let's say a year later, and they're going to play in Ord this weekend, how would you write a story? And you've written plenty about Harper Murray. How would you write a story about her last year?
It's really triumphant. You know, it's an incredible story of growth. You know, and again, like that's kind of the human experience, right? Like we make mistakes, we grow from them, we get second chances, and I think she's made the most of hers. I certainly think she's got a really good heart. So anybody who's ever kind of watched that, the BTN documentary about her, and then the ESPN documentary, which I thought was very good. Not everybody loved it. I thought it was very good. I think understands, you know, what her experiences were growing up, and just the sensitivity that she has to a lot of different things in a good way. And so, like, I think there was, you know, within the person who made some of the mistakes she made is a real leader, and you know, somebody who has the ability to connect with people. I think that's a talent she has, a skill that she's cultivated. I thought that was very generous offer that she had on I guess that we call it X now last night. So yeah, I think she's you know, she's grown a lot. She had really good teammates. She had a great coach in her corner. I think really helped when you have somebody like that in your corner and is willing to stand behind you and is willing to do the right thing and be loyal in that moment. And I think she's repaid that, you know, tenfold. So I think that's probably the story. It's just, you know, just such a overwhelmingly decent person who's really grown. And again, she's going to have a long career in pro volleyball wherever she wants to have that, whether it's in the States or somewhere else. But, you know, she's, I think she could be destined for more kind of leadership roles outside the sport too.
I agree.
That's going to be her call. But, you know, there's all kinds of different kind of leaders, you know, so there's quiet leaders. And I think Harper Murray actually can be a very vocal leader and can be somebody who galvanizes that team. And that might be what they need. And then off the court, I think she just has a quality that connects with people and athletes, you know, young girls and athletes love her.
And she's still got 2 years left.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Pretty cool.
Sam, post the Nebraska volleyball exhibition match with Kansas, Rebecca Alec was at the stand talking post game, and she talked about how John Cook has just built such an incredible program that despite who the head coach is, that top athletes are immediately going to look at Nebraska volleyball. But we all know that winning way needs to be retained. You need to continue to have that culture and that tradition for that to still be the case. In comparison to building a program, how difficult is it for just any coach to retain that type of level of success when coming after the coach who built it?
Well, I think if it were somebody other than Danny Busboom Kelly, maybe it'd be a different conversation.
Sure.
But, you know, she played there for Cook. She coached under Cook. She knows it as well as anybody could. And so I don't think it's going to be as hard for her to maintain as it might be some coach who is less familiar with Nebraska volleyball than she is. I mean, she's really done it at every level. And so I think she understands what needs to stay the same, and then how to put her own mark on it. And I think she's not gonna make it about herself. I think she's a pretty selfless coach, and everybody can already see that. She's going to be a little different in post. Just a little different, and maybe isn't gonna say quite as much. And she'll be a little bit more reserved in some ways, but super authentic, and talk about competitive, and talk about driven. This is a coach who has been to the finals twice in the last 4 years, and I think Nebraska has too. And like you talk about somebody who wants to bring Nebraska another national championship. It's a former player who wasn't quite able to win the title at Louisville. She's going to be very hungry. And I think the players will sense that. And this is a hungry team too, because I think the team knows they're as good as anybody. And they fell a little short the last 2 seasons, but they don't have to fall short this year. And so I think it's going to be a good match. Now, I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball that looks into 15 years from now.
Yeah.
But I think the program's in terrific shape, and she'll maintain that. And I think, if you were going to ask me, are they going to win a national title in the next 4 years? I would say yes, because
could be this year.
They've gotten really close, and I think they'll get over. I think they'll get one, and it will not surprise me one bit if it's this season or next season.
Hey, what do you believe to be true about the pursuit of Marty Brown?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I think there's more than 2 schools involved. I think Nebraska certainly values him, and had a genuine, all hands on deck kind of a visit with him. So they're putting their effort in. So I think Nebraska wants it. Now all that said, you gauge to some degree the financial piece, and Nebraska has what it has. I mean, it probably doesn't have at this stage of the game as much opportunity as a Cal does. Cal's he could start at Cal.
Yep.
I feel pretty confident of that. I don't think he's Nebraska's starter. I really don't. I think Emmett Johnson's going to start, and I think that needs to be the case. Emmett's put the work in, and I'm not trying to say that Marty didn't put in the work at North Dakota State, but Emmett's put the work in, and he's been waiting for this for a while, and he's the guy. And so I think Marty Brown would have to come here and understand he's not the guy right away. He might be the guy, but he's not going to be the guy right away, I don't think. I think he'll be, your power back who comes in maybe in the red zone, but maybe gets 10, 11 carries a game. Well, at North Dakota State, he was getting 20. So I think there's the question. I think that's true, and it'll probably come down to playing time versus what Miami might be able to pay versus what Nebraska can, and also just Nebraska's going to be really honest with him that he's going to have to come in and earn his playing time, and then again, Emmett Johnson's just ahead. So that's what I think is true. Now I want to say this too: Marty Brown is a very, very good football player, and breaks tackles, carries tacklers with him, bounces off of guys. He will grow wherever he goes, whether it's Cal, Miami, or Nebraska. He's going to grow in his open field skill set, and it's that's just going to take some time. At North Dakota State, he was playing in I formation. Sometimes he was a lead blocker for Cole Payton. Like, he's a very physical player. Nebraska would ask a guy like that to come in and say, all right, you're going to have to work on all the versatility pieces. You're going to have to catch ball out of the backfield. You're going to have to do this and this and this, because to play in Dana Holgerson's offense, you're going to have to do all those things. So he would have something to work on if he got here. He's not going to be like a program solver right off the bat.
The 2025 NFL draft for Nebraska football was what?
Decent. Maybe a little less than what Nebraska was hoping. On a perfect day, I'm sure they hope they get 5, and then they'd be able to say, hey, most since 2011.
Sure.
The process is working. I think the 2 guys that got drafted were the 2 that were consensus to be selected. And then I thought somebody would take Nayor. I did. I thought somebody just, hey, you know what? we'll bring this guy in. As it is, he goes to the 49ers, and they've got some interesting issues with receivers. So like maybe he catches on there and he's good. I didn't think Nash would probably get drafted, and then poor Tommy Hill, that foot issue, that stuff. So he's going to have to prove it. Obviously, Tommy could be a year away from full health, and you just never quite know. So I think it was about what I expected. I think Nebraska is still growing in its NFL draft profile. I do think that I'm going to have a mailbag for tomorrow, and I'll talk about some of the most draftable players for 26 and 27. Obviously, in 27, you have Dylan Raiola. Mm-hmm. And he's going to be a genuine option. And I encourage people to go and look at Miami's offense and Cam Ward in it. And I'm not saying that Dylan Raiola is going to be the number one pick, but people may not know this. Miami's offensive coordinator, his name is Shannon Dawson. He worked 8 years for Dana Holgorsen, 4 in West Virginia and 4 at Houston. People want to see what's possible with Dylan Raiola and Dana Holgorsen together as a passing offense. You go watch Cam Ward's highlights, and you'll see a lot of what Nebraska might theoretically be able to do. Now, do they have as good of players as Miami? I don't know. Are they playing tougher defenses than Miami faced? Yes, they are. Mm-hmm. But conceptually, you can see where it's going. And you can look at Cam Ward, you can look at Dylan Raiola, and you're not going to see a lot of throws from the pocket that are that much different. Dylan can do all the things that Cam does from the pocket. Cam can get outside and run and do other things, and that's where Raiola's got to grow. But there's some reasonable comps there, and the offenses that they're playing in are going to be similar. Not maybe perfectly exact, but similar.
Speaking of undrafted free agents, for anybody that would like to know about Tommy Hill. So Tommy Hill has just been invited to the Vikings minicamp.
Right.
He posted on his IG nothing but Tommy Hill going up against Travis Hunter. So, I mean, it's a curious case of what happened to him. We think we know, maybe we don't, but the medicals must have cleared that the Vikings are going to invite him. Let's go now that the spring is over, and now we're going to go into the offseason, and already the post-spring top 25s are coming out. And On3 has Nebraska as number 22. The win total is going to be 7.5. We'll sit here and go 8. Could they get to 9? If there's a hesitancy in you saying this team will make a jump from 7 wins to 9 wins, where would you focus on?
Well, quite specifically, and I know this is a very broad category, but road games. And so here's where Nebraska's at, if we're going to be really honest. They've struggled away from home for years. And they haven't always been great at home either, to be clear. But they've struggled away from home for a long time. And so let's put it at 2.5 over and under on games away from home. And I've given this to a couple of media members, and they all took over. And I said, okay, you can take over. Mm-hmm. Okay, you want to say they're going to beat Cincinnati? That's fine. You want to say they're going to beat Maryland? I'm with that too. Maryland will have 18 people at the game, and they're not very good. But so you're telling me they're going to win 1 of 3: Minnesota, Penn State, and UCLA. Well, they haven't beaten Minnesota in 10 years. They just got they got taken to the house by UCLA last year, and they did. I mean, they were down 27-7 or whatever it was. At home. You see that at home, and Penn State. I mean, that might be the best team in the Big Ten. So there's the answer right there. If you can't win more than 2 games away from home, well, then you're already staring at 9-3, and that means you got to go perfect at home. And perfect's hard. That's hard. And so, if that's where they've got to get better. They got to get a bit better away from home. You look at it. I mean, they lost to Michigan State a couple of years ago. I think in the last 5 years, and don't hold me to this. I think in the last 5 years, the only time they've won 2 games away from home was in 22, when they won at Rutgers and at Iowa. But in 21, I don't think they won a single game away from home. In 24 or in 23, they won 1 game away from home in Illinois.
Yeah.
And in 24, last year, they won at Purdue. And was there another one? I don't think there was. Right? So they lost at Ohio State, at Iowa, at USC, at Indiana.
Yeah, all right.
So they went 1-4 in 23, 1-4 in 24.
Wow.
And I'll tell people, I'm like, 2.5. Oh, over. Okay. Okay, okay. But see, that's how we are.
Yeah,
like that's how we operate. It's like, oh yeah, over. Oh, really? Well, they haven't went over. They haven't went over in any of the years, most recent years. Not in 21, 22, 23, and 24. But they're just going to go over this year. Nah, they got to prove it.
Yeah.
It's that it's that line. I love The Social Network, the movie. And if your clients had been the inventors of Facebook, they would have invented Facebook.
Yeah.
If Nebraska is going to make the jump, they need to make the jump. You can't say they're going to do it until they've done it.
Yep.
And they're going to have to go on the road and win games on the road. And that means going down to Arrowhead and not winning 21-20 on a luck, but going down there and taking care of business. And then it means, yes, beating Maryland at Maryland with 18 people in the stands. Then it means going and beating Nico Imlieva at the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
You got to go do it. And so I think Matt Rule certainly understands it, and I think that team does too. But there it is. I think they've got to find a way to win away from home.
No, that's a great little nugget. Sam, always great to see you. Now we get to the off season. Always enjoy the conversation. Have a good week, my friend.
See you, Sam.
4 months away. Bye.
Yes. 120 days, right? Is that the countdown?
No, 121 yesterday, 120 today.
Crazy how that works, Matt.
Great.
You heard it here first. The new math.
I'm a little mad because I really, really like that movie, and I'm mad that I didn't use that line that Sam just used, where if your clients invented Facebook, they would have invented Facebook. Because how many times have we, talked to people and they go, well, they were really, this team was really 9-3. This team was really 8-4. When you look at it,
you are what your record says you are.
If you were 8-4, you would be 8-4. If you were 9-3, you would be 9-3. And I think that until they do it, there are so many different aspects of Nebraska football that you can just say, I'll believe it when I see it. I'll believe it when I see it.
That's why the two most important games to me this year, to convince me that things are different, Cincinnati and Minnesota. All right, halfway through, Brian Christopherson, Andy Kendi will join us in the last hour on a Tuesday edition of Gary and Matt with Jimmy, 1620 The Zone. What was Brad Underwood doing yesterday?
Being awesome, being funny, being Bulk and Brad.
That's giving more effort than the Heat.
Being Daddy Brad. That's what he was doing.
Would you like to read off the starting five, potential starting five for Illinois basketball this upcoming year?
Read it off. I got it to memory at this point.
Already?
No, I don't. But I love this. By the way,
there's a little international flair in the starting five for the Fighting Illini.
Let me tell you something right now. I am not calling them the Illinois Illini this year. Okay, they are the Illaslavia Illini.
Flying Illini?
From here on out, they are Illaslavia. Okay, here's their starting five: Mihajlo Petrovic, Andrei Stojakovic, David Mirkovic, Vanimir Ivasic, and Tomislav Ivasic.
Damn, he is the Doc Emmerich of Eastern European names. I could listen to him read off names all day.
Ivasic, Mirkovic, Stojakovic, Petrovic.
Stojakovic, yeah.
It's his kid.
Rest in peace, Drazen.
It's his kid. It's Peja's kid. I love Bulk and Brad. He's awesome. Now, are they going to be in a lot of trouble on defense? Yeah. Is Boswell gonna have to be locked down on the perimeter and really create for this offense? Absolutely. But if you love baby hooks, if you love floaters, if you love stop and goes on the pick and roll, getting a guy behind your back, flailing, if you love flailing, you're gonna love the Illaslavia Illini.
My blood pressure just goes down as he reads this. I just feel so good.
By the way, Alfred Sengun might have like the prettiest spin right-hand floater, their right-hand baby hook that I've ever seen.
He'll be on vacation soon?
Until he got shut down by Draymond in the last possession. I was like, I could watch this guy play. Everybody gets off to like 3-pointers. I get off to great post play.
An old soul. You would have loved how I grew up.
I know.
Excuse me?
I would have loved Hakeem.
Excuse me? What did you say?
People love 3-pointers. People love
I got what you're
transition threes. People love to.
I just skipped over a couple of words there.
No, Matt wants to go 4 down in the post, pound it.
Yes. I want to throw into a guy
talking about basketball.
I want to throw the ball into a guy where I didn't know where his country was located until he was on my team, and I want to let him go to work. That's what I want.
Like I'm 15 again. The wind blows a certain direction.
Slovenia. Where's Slovenia? I've never heard of Slovenia. You look it up. Now you're the biggest Slovenian fan ever.
Are we going to acquire Slovenia? Is that on the list?
What aren't we going to acquire? Slovenia's out there.
Not for Canada. Liberals won the election last night in Canada.
Did they? Huh?
Yeah.
Molson's for everybody.
So they can stay as a sovereign nation. Brian Christopherson's going to join us in a little bit. Also, thank you. The weather did not give us any excitement yesterday.
Other than a nice warm day. Very thankful for it.
I still find it really funny that you were disappointed that you couldn't have a couple garage beers at 4 o'clock.
That's what Midwesterners do. Mm-hmm. The sirens go off. We grab our phones. We don't go to the basement anymore. We go to the garage. We put out the old school lawn chair, and we sit there with garage beers and watch it rain.
I remember that we would used to go down into the basement and like turn on the news channel and be watching the updates.
We don't do that anymore. We grab our phone.
I made a pizza. I was excited.
My abuela would be upstairs making the cafecitos for everybody. Nice. Be making the coffee. He was like, he didn't care. He survived communism. What do you think a little tornado is going to do to that guy?
Speaking of the weather, though, this is a good friend of the show. Saw him recently. Dean tweets in, he was up in the Twin Cities yesterday and they had severe weather.
Yeah.
There was a former KTV meteorologist who rolled up the sleeves a la Bill Ranby as Matt Serwe was working on the ABC affiliate, KTSP.
Okay.
Up in the
we were
Twin
watching
Cities.
WCCO last night and
Why?
I have a friend that works there.
WCCO.
Yeah.
I wanted when I was a kid because you could get it in Des Moines. I could listen to it in my bedroom. I know the jingle, Steve Cannon, Afternoon. I was in love with 830 WCCO, your neighbor to the north, the upper Midwest, or whatever the line was. I thought one day I was going to work at WCCO.
Wow.
I loved
WCCO.
close.
You're in the Twin Cities.
You were close to, like you had a job, or you
No.
dreaming?
When I was a little kid, I was like 10 years old. I wanted to work at WCCO. Because
that
was me and
Herb Carneal. They carried all the sports.
Yeah.
Herb Carneal was the late Herb Carneal was the legendary voice of the Minnesota Twins.
See, I thought I was going to work at GN, and then they dropped the Cubs, and that was brutal. And then I was like, all right, Comcast Sports Network, the home of the Hawks and the Bulls and the Sox.
Drop that.
And then they dropped that. And
Marquee it is.
Well, that's not everybody can get that channel. And then Chizen is now the new sports channel. And now if you want to watch Chizen, you want to watch the Bulls, you got to buy an antenna, which I don't think anyone in Chicago knew that antenna still existed.
CCO TV is a great station. I have
their studios.
So I know the weekend sports anchor, Chris Long. Him and I were in Fort Myers together, and he's a Midwestern guy, moved to the cities, I don't know, probably 10 years ago. He works at the same station as Matt Serwe. There are a couple of people. John Chapman's brother is a longtime reporter on CCO in the Twin Cities. Of course, John is legendary in this town over at WWT. And then there is a former another KTV staff member reporter. She is up on CCO. That's a great station.
Shout out my friend Tracy.
Hey, I love the Twin Cities. It's got the best sports page, the Star Tribune,
and they
print the box scores and stuff. Also, I stumbled upon the Saturday World Herald.
Oh wow!
And there were actual box scores in the World Herald.
That's pretty awesome.
Because the Lincoln Journal-Star still prints the box scores, but the World Herald is kind of, they do more of the line score and a little quick recap. I saw box scores and I thought, you know who would appreciate this along with me? Nate Rohr. Nate gets ticked off. Nate's a newspaper guy, and all of his travels, he likes to, you go into the airport and you like to pick up the newspaper, but you want the latest scores.
Only $21.
That's why getting the newspaper on the West Coast is great, because all the late games are going to be in there.
Because they're just games out there.
But the Star Tribune's deadline must be later, because in sports, it's a banger of a sports page. But they carry the box scores. They carry the page, the aggregate page that's got all the standings and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, Saturday morning, stumbled across the World Herald when I was going to the Husker games, and they got box scores, and I'm like,
did I tell you that
somebody has gotten to Sammy McEwen?
When I was back in Chicago 2 months ago, I was at my local diner, and I went out, and they used to have the boxes there where you just open up, you put the 25 cents in, and you grab the paper. They
don't cost 25 cents anymore, pal.
Well, they used to, or whatever they cost. I'm going to be honest, I have no idea what they cost.
They're about, I think, the World Herald. If you go to your favorite spot to grab a World Herald today, it's $3. I think on Sunday it's $4.
Card only, or do you still use cash?
Well, I look.
I know what you mean. We used to put a quarter in the thing. I don't know
how, but they used to cost not $3.
The newspaper was a quarter. USA Today would be like 50 cents, and now you can't. You don't see any boxes anywhere.
There's no more. There was no more. Because
people don't buy a newspaper.
I wanted to sit down and have my coffee and have my eggs and read the Tribune or read the Sun Times or see what creative back page headline that they had. And they did. I was like, what are we doing here? What does America come to that we're now removing the boxes?
That'll be on Take 5 today.
I mean, I'm just saying, no, not today.
I would listen.
You're an old soul. Mm-hmm. Those things have been gone for a long time. They just clutter.
I know. But it's for those moments. We just got to keep things around for just those little moments that are so precious.
I was in a bidding to buy a used newspaper box from the Fort Myers News Press.
How much did it go for?
Like a couple $1,000. I was like, that would be really cool.
Almost
to
as
have.
Much as one of those John Cook bobbleheads.
That'd be real cool to have, in your garage, an old newspaper box.
What are you gonna do?
It's just kind of cool.
You know what? It's like acquiring the Merv Griffin set.
Here's what what would it, do you say that to people that want to acquire a seat to a former stadium?
No, but that's way cooler than a newspaper.
You wanted a urinal when they get rid of them.
Well, yeah, I want a trough. That's
right, a trough.
How's that different from a newspaper box?
Because troughs are cool.
Newspaper boxes are cool.
There's more DNA in the trough.
Would be really cool if you bought a newspaper box and you put it in your man cave, and then you had old papers from big sporting moments, and you put the old papers into the box, and then you could be hey, and then you open it up and you pull. That would be cool. If you had a collector's set of newspapers already and you wanted some, that would be awesome.
Didn't we talk about hot dog rollers on this show, about getting one of those for downstairs?
What's a hot dog roller?
Well, at the gas station, the hot dogs would roll on the thing, and you get up and
I wouldn't want that.
Those have become very popular.
Have they?
Yeah.
What do they call them now?
If you're
Glizzies?
Glizzies. If you're having a party and you walk into a place, and they've got a hot dog roller.
Are you immediately oh, this place means business?
Hey, this guy knows how to party. He might not be. He might just be a one-man party, but that man knows how to party, and maybe he has an old party ball.
I went to
pops that up, and you're eating a glizzy and sucking down a Coors Light.
Miller Lite, but yeah, I mean, all is the same. I went to a barbecue 2 years ago. One guy had a hot dog or a bun toaster. Like
my Foreman grill had one of those.
He probably was on a flight when they used to have the magazine where you could buy all weird stuff like that.
Sure.
Now they don't have that anymore.
I think toasting the hot dog buns might be the most underrated bang for your buck in terms of like improving your eating experience.
I wouldn't toast them. I would split them and put them on the grill.
Yeah.
Oh, that's next level. Hell yes.
But I'm going to tell you right now, Ballpark is lacking because I get the Ballpark buns. It's hard to split a Ballpark bun perfectly right down the middle without breaking the hinge. Like that.
I love the Rotello's ones here. We had a listener recommend that when I first got here.
Sure.
Banger every time.
I just feel like that's a skill, being able to open a hot dog bun without breaking it. It's almost like opening up like an envelope without like an envelope opener, like those people who can just do it with their like fingers. I can't. I'm like the worst envelope opener ever. Can you not relate to this? Or you just never had a problem opening envelopes before that you can't relate?
When was the last time you had a paper cut? Might be like 15 years old.
Right here.
Oh, you are terrible.
Right here.
You're just not very athletic. That's what the bottom line is. All right. When we come back, how hard is Bill Belichick? We'll get into that when we return. Brian Christopherson, Andy Kendi, still to come. What?
They're asking me about how I like my basketball. That's one hell of a tease.
That's a segue,
They're asking that question in Chapel Hill.
They're asking a lot of questions in Chapel Hill, especially after that CBS.
We'll discuss that and much more when we return on Gary and Matt in 1620 The Zone.
Speaking of Bill Belichick, I don't know if he does anything with them anymore, but I do. So we're pretty much the same person, except I'm married to someone my own age. Start a playoff series by using your Game 1 boost with Underdog and continue boosting each subsequent game to unlock the next one. The longer the series, the bigger the boost. This does not apply to the Miami Heat, the Memphis Grizzlies. Their series is over. And other series will end tonight as well. Good morning, Milwaukee Bucks. Get ready for Cancun. Underdog is the leading place to make all of your sports picks, and you can play now right here in our great state of Nebraska. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? To play, all you have to do is download the app. Choose whether a player will go higher or lower on one of their stats. For example, last night with the Heat, if you pick lower on everything, you probably won. Should have bet that game instead of the night game. Anyway, the late game. You can choose from things like points, assists, and so much more, and some of these teams may be turnovers. If you get your picks correct, you can win up to 1,000 times your money, so you can turn $1 into 1,000 just with your hoops knowledge. This week on Underdog, let's wrap up the first round of the NBA playoffs, and tonight, you got the Lakers and the Timberwolves. The Lakers playing for their life. The NBA desperately needs LeBron and Luka to stay in, so I'm picking LeBron and Luka to do higher on stuff. And Ant-Man. Ant-Man's still great. Keep doing what you're doing. All right, download the Underdog app. Sign up with promo code ZONE to unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. That's promo code ZONE. Must be 19 plus in Nebraska, present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/extend.html for details. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
All right, it's Portal and Cruton season. Bookmark your favorite YouTube channel. I guess Trey Taylor, the quarterback in the class of 27, will be making his announcement on May Day in the afternoon on not on his, but a YouTube channel. Not sure if it'll be a recruiting website or not, but Nebraska is in a good spot for Trey Taylor, 4-star quarterback in the class of 27. Quarterback in the class of 27 that balls out over at 87th and Pacific. According to Greg Smith over at Rivals, Ohio State is in Omaha today to see Braylon Warren, who just got an offer last night from Cal, has an Illinois offer and an Iowa offer in the last week, and now Ohio State after his performance at the Elite 11.
They should stop by here.
This past weekend, won the accuracy challenge, so Steve Warren's son will get a visit from the Ohio State, who had Jet Tomala on a unofficial visit during their spring football. Quarterbacks are back, baby, in Nebraska. I cannot get enough of watching.
I know where you're going with this.
So I love CBS Sunday mornings with Jane Pauley. I love the trumpets. I knew the show existed.
Yeah.
Didn't know what it was about. Plus, it's early on Sunday morning. And then
Charles Carroll used to be on that.
By the way, my first ever CBS Sunday morning that I've ever viewed.
Great show.
First of many.
Severe turned me on to it, and now I either watch it or I record it, or DVR it, or whatever.
Wow, you
whatever
DVR it?
Yeah.
Is it that good?
Yes, I love it. They're great storytelling.
Nice way to start the day.
But
is it? It's not always sports. It's a general news.
Oh, it's
deal?
very rarely it's sports.
Okay.
Yeah, there's humor, there's good stories, there's
all right.
And then there's a little bit of a zen at the end of the show at 9:28.
Like the Daily Show.
Little nature.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, it's probably not for you. You're a little young.
I think I would like it. I also like nature.
Shout out nature.
Okay, shout out nature.
Shout out nature.
But they had Bill Belichick. They're doing a fluff piece because he has a book coming out.
Well, it was supposed to be a fluff piece.
Well, I think that's where the response by his girlfriend, Jordan Hudson, comes from. So Bill Belichick is 73. She's 24. Her last boyfriend was 64. Sounds like a sugar daddy, but I'm not here to judge.
Sure.
But I can't get enough of watching it. So it is very much a fluff interview, and things go sideways when the reporter starts to ask about his relationship, how he met Jordan Hudson. Now, the story that has been shared is they met on a flight and they shared a common love of a book. And then they exchanged phone numbers and they went back and forth and texting. And the next thing you know, they're in a relationship. So very normal to all of us that are looking for someone to meet that one time you're sitting next to somebody on a flight. Oh my God.
I've seen
There's
that movie.
actually a new Netflix movie about, not a joke, about finding your true love on a flight that got released about a year before this all happened. So life imitates art.
This whole thing is fascinating because it involves Bill Belichick, and I think it is a struggle for media because they are losing their mind over this, and
they can't stand him being happy.
It's frustrating for media because they're dealing with two people who are DGAFers. So if you think your opinion of them is going to matter because you're going to phase them, I'm here to tell you, you're going to be sorely disappointed because Bill Belichick and his girlfriend, they are not going to be phased as they will do a little backlash Instagram dump of where they're very, very happy. And that will make media lose their mind because media have this God complex that think they can change two people. And they're like, what are you doing? But I do believe in this and listening to him talk. Now, his brand may take a hit.
Now it will, yes.
I mean,
I think
your dignity may take a hit if you are built on leadership and stuff.
I think his brand actually had a rise, if we're being honest, pre this interview. Because pre this interview, I think a lot of people looked at him as this like old curmudgeon football coach. Yeah. And now he looked, wow, like Bill Belichick's got a hot girlfriend. Like good for him. Like cool cat. Like older dude. Like I think that some people thought it was cool.
The pushback has been kind of interesting. There's the report on this, if you've seen the interview, and watch it.
Yeah.
Okay, because it gets sideways about 5.5 minutes in, and you're like, oh boy.
It's a great 8-minute 30 watch.
TMZ comes out and says they had to stop the interview because she stormed out of the room for 30 minutes. If anybody has seen the screenshot, guys, we've all seen that look, whether it be from your wife or your girlfriend. They give you the look and you're like, oh no,
She was mad.
that's the look. But I think I think that Bill Belichick would give up his job at North Carolina for her if he was forced. If
No
someone
way.
at North Carolina said, her or your job, I think there's a spell there, and I think Belichick would give up his job.
No, absolutely not. He's, at the end of the day, he is a football coach. He is a football savant, okay? This is a guy who for 20 years sat in front of a podium and said nothing other than winning football games and winning Super Bowls matters, all right? He's at 64. He is not going to allow some woman come into his life and just completely just get him off the path and steer him off his life's work, okay? Yeah, did he get forced out of the NFL? Probably. Is there a greater reason as to why he's in college football other than him being, I want to coach in college? Probably. But there is no way on God's green earth some 24-year-old broad is going to take the greatest football coach of all time and make him quit his job, and he's going to bow down to that. There's no way.
North Carolina, hey, he might be being held against his will. Okay, we don't know that.
It might be a conservatorship.
We
is
don't
what
know
you're
that.
saying.
Like Bill, blink twice.
Is this? Are you saying this is a Britney situation?
Hey, because North Carolina, you get this. You get everything you deserve because you sold your soul to Bill Belichick. And while the NFL team said, hey, that guy is not manageable, we're not dealing with him, you got his own GM, and then you get his 24-year-old girlfriend who is very actively involved in the football operation, but she has a spell over him. That's why I say that if he was forced, if North Carolina, Bubba Cunningham came into his office and said, said, Bill, we got to shut the door. And he'd go, hey, can Jordan be in here? Not today, Bill. But what would you like to do? Because this has really gotten awkward.
This has gotten really weird really quickly.
It has gotten really, really awkward. Now, I think maybe I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt. I think she cares about her man and doesn't want him to be screwed by the media.
So
he has said, you know what, honey, for you, anything. Jordan over football. Jordan over the jump man.
Vontae Mack, no matter what. Is that what we're saying? All right. There's one of three things happening here, though. Let's be real. The first one is obvious. All right. She's very attractive. He's very old. He's never been.
What?
She's attractive.
He's
very old.
He's
Please welcome
guy.
Bill. And
she knows what he's getting. He knows what she's getting. Okay. We don't need to go into that. Number two, he's going through a midlife crisis, if you will. And he's in love with this girl. And
73.
Well, I don't want to be insulting.
You're
okay?
not.
Okay. He's going through a crisis, and he's allowed this girl to warp his mind. And for the first time in his life, it's not just about football. It's about other things.
Which would lead me to what I say is that he would choose her over football because they're still bonding over the book. The book.
They haven't finished the book.
He autographed her textbook.
Nice.
Or the third thing,
pokey little puppy.
This is like the greatest marketing ploy ever because we are talking about
marketing.
Here's why. We are talking about North Carolina football in April.
No, we're not talking about North Carolina football, though. We're talking about Bill Belichick.
We're talking about, though, the head coach of North Carolina football in April. When have we ever talked about anything?
Well, we would talk about Belichick, but we're not talking about what kind of an impact Bayora will make at North Carolina.
No, but
by the way, he was at the Husker games the other day.
He
can't quit Nebraska.
We are still, though, talking about the head coach of North Carolina, and there are still eyes on North Carolina. Now, I'm not saying that this is. I'm not saying that it is.
Do you look at Belichick and go, "Oh, yeah, North Carolina head football coach"?
Yeah, he is.
But do you look at him and go, "Oh, North Carolina head football coach"? And that's Bill Belichick. When you're wearing the tattered sweatshirt, which is so on brand in this interview.
When you look at
where'd you get that rip?
When you look at Bill Belichick, what do you think of more, North Carolina football coach or Jordan Hudson's boyfriend?
I think a guy with that.
Fair enough. I don't think it's actually a marketing ploy. Okay. I think it's probably the first of the three things, but it is, if you're North Carolina, okay, you're kind of sitting here and part of you is like, all right, this isn't the greatest look of all time that our football coach is going through this relationship. In the same breath, you have national reporters who are actually talking about your football team, who's actually giving your football team attention.
No, they're talking about your coach,
but
not
still,
about what he can do on the field.
But they're still talking about North Carolina football. North Carolina, he is the head coach of North Carolina football. He is attached to North Carolina football. They are going to get a game day this year because he is attached to North Carolina football. They are going to get covered and talked about at ESPN at great length because he's the coach. And now this has elevated this even more.
Will they? Because ESPN's relationship with Belichick, they use their Deion Sanders relationship, right, to feature Colorado. I think they'd love to do it with North Carolina, but will he say, and will she say, not so fast?
Oh, God.
Lee Corso, you want all this access. This isn't going to happen. And ESPN goes, whoa, we had this relationship with Belichick. We're going to help you. And she says, no, we can help yourself. But here's the thing. Think about it. If this was your dad, okay?
Jeez.
I've told the story. Like when my parents got divorced, and they got divorced when I was in college. And my mom never got remarried. My dad got remarried. And it was very awkward when he, to hear that your dad is dating someone.
Yeah.
Okay, when you hear that.
Yeah.
And my mom dated someone, but, I knew that she was never going to get remarried. But my dad told my brother and I, he was like, hey, I just want to let you know I've started dating someone. And I was like, and then you're like, you asked the question, well,
how old is she?
Well, one, I said, does she look like mom?
Oh, wow.
And then I was like,
that's a fastball.
And I was like, is she, I was thinking maybe dad is like, hey, 20 years younger.
That's buzzing the tower to begin the at-bat.
But, Steve Belichick is on his staff.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you have to make that decision when you have parents that are a little bit older and you got to take the keys away from them. Okay, that's not easy. Okay, we're not driving anymore.
Sure.
Like as a kid, do you sit down with dad and say, what's going on here?
No, because I think probably, just like the North Carolina job, Steve might be in line to get Jordan after Bill's done.
I was thinking it, but I'm trying to turn a new leaf, so I wasn't going to say it.
That was too easy. That was way too easy.
So is she? What?
Yeah, it probably is really weird for the kid. Probably is an awkward situation for him to be in. This entire thing is an awkward situation. Why, by the way, why can't he just answer the question? Why can't he just say, hey, we met, funny enough, I'm promoting a book. I'm a very avid reader. This is why I'm so excited for this book to come out. We were both reading the same book at the same time on the same plane. We ended up talking about it, and that's how we met. And Jordan is an incredible individual. Why can't he be normal and just answer a question like that?
Never been normal.
Exactly. The guy's he's just, at the end of the day, he's just weird. He's always been weird, and this is one of his weird things. And he found, that's just what it is. He's always been a weirdo, and this is one of its weird things. And North Carolina's sitting there being like, yeah, this is strange, and maybe we didn't know what we were getting ourselves into, but people are talking about us. We are in.
So I'm going to go
in the breath of people.
But if I'm North Carolina, I want them to talk about the guys I have that are playing and that we've acquired. And, they've actually had a nice little run of recruiting.
Yeah.
But they're not talking about that. We get the celebrity, yes.
Sure.
But the celebrity should open the door to the football players that are on the field, not open the door to his personal life and who he's dating that draws all the attention. And instead of Pete Thamel coming to your campus, it is TMZ that's coming to your campus.
But on the note, though, when we get to the football season,
it won't be the story.
But he'll be on the sideline.
He'll be on the
coaching
sidelines.
football.
But now it's developed into a situation where you're going to attach that with her, because how many times will she be shown?
Sure.
And then how many times when she's shown too much will she march into the TV booth or the truck and just go nuts?
At the same time, what if they start winning? What if they start the season 6-0? Then we're talking about North Carolina football and the incredible job that. Is this the Jordan Hudson experience? Is she the best GM in all the ACC?
You brought it up a couple weeks ago that you think this is going to be a mass failure. I'm starting to think this may not turn out so well. Alan says she is or was 100% a call girl.
I've seen that movie.
Yeah, so
Richard
I've,
Gere,
I've
right?
seen that. I've seen that. Like, once again, I just don't get why
Somebody save Dad. She's sucking all of our inheritance. By the way, that's a joke I made to my dad because he married a very lovely woman, and they're very happy living in Florida.
Yeah.
And I don't think she's, using my dad. They're similar age.
Sure.
But I did kind of think that. I'm like, is she going to suck us dry? Like my brother and I are looking at some big bucks when Dad goes. Is she going to spend all of her inheritance?
You're already looking at the checkbook, being like, "This is going to an offshore account."
Now,
What's
to be
going on
fair,
here?
you always have to be prepared. So, good on you.
Now, because there
Oh.
was the initial disappointment, I'm like, Dad, like, she like
What the heck? We were going to go 50-50. Now we're going to go 1/3, 1/3, 1/3.
you're like late 50s. Is she like 25, 26? Did you meet?
Was she?
No, they're very similar in age. They
Would you
they
be-
both have the same backstory.
And this isn't a your dad thing. Okay, this is just an every dad.
And my dad,
thing.
by the way, is like aging. He is going the other way. Like
Gracefully.
I bet my dad is.
Oh,
That
that's-
Florida
that's-
sun, that
that's
warmth.
morbid.
Hey,
So that's life.
I'm waiting for that phone call. Hey, you got another brother.
You're like, damn it, 25, 25, 25.
All
Jesus,
right.
I don't even know how I'd react. I'd be like, no.
So
No.
my dad, he had a heart attack recently, and I got really, really annoyed at him because it happened in front of me, and it happened on the golf course.
Okay.
And well, the reason why I'm really annoyed about it is because he
Because he didn't finish the ninth hole? What?
no, is because he no longer takes it as, wow, I had a heart attack. I got to take this really seriously. Like, I have to make sure that I'm improving my health. He's taking it as, yeah, I still parred the first hole.
Okay,
Like,
good.
Yeah.
Like he's still taking like
Dad's a
like
competitor.
like
Shout
it's
out
like a
Dad.
badge of honor. It's like, damn right, I had a heart attack on the first hole, and I
This
still
goes back
beat
to
ya.
our conversation the day he took off.
Well,
That generation
I
was
didn't-
just built differently.
Hey, I didn't take off. Okay,
You weren't here.
I was
we missed you.
very, very
I'm
sick.
doing the flu game today.
Mhm.
You're doing
By
a
the way,
great
one
job.
quick note on North Carolina. Do you think now I'm just
Now you're
boom.
spitballing here.
Well, because Bayor, who has left Mizzou and is going to North Carolina, was in Lincoln over the weekend. He was
Sure.
just kind of like walking around.
Someone saw, like, first off, the fact that someone was able to pick him out of a crowd of just him in
Well,
normal clothes.
He does stand out.
Okay.
I mean, he's pretty cock diesel.
Okay,
And what you would look at him and go, okay, must be an athlete.
yeah.
Former player. Rule was talking about him, wasn't he? A couple weeks ago
In what
about
sentence?
getting bad information.
Probably.
Yeah,
Definitely. He definitely falls in the category of that, I think.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. And I do think too, like, when there's two lines. There's the bad information, and then there's the being grateful, right? You should be happy every day you have a meal at the athletic facility and the incredible
Mhm.
cafeteria you have. And I guarantee you that if enough people, if we looked at who's entered the portal, we could probably drop a couple of different players into one of those two boxes for
Yeah.
sure.
When I saw him on Saturday, I was like, yeah, Rule was talking about you,
Yeah.
of what happened when you went to Mizzou and now back in the portal, and he's already to North Carolina. All right, Brian Christopherson's coming up at the top of the hour. Andy Kendi, a little bit later, we'll ask them about Jordan Hudson. How would they handle the situation if that was their dad?
I would not handle it well. She'd be my age. She's my age.
Yeah.
She's 01. She was born in 2001. By the way, Tyler Shuck, the last Renaissance man, he'll be the last player from the 1900s drafted in the NFL. How crazy is that?
That'll be in the bio in the Saints media guide.
Oh, big time. He is the last Renaissance man.
We're back with more Gary and Matt after this in 1620 The Zone. All right, well, we sit and wait, and he can take all the time he wants. Big decision for a 20-year-old Marty Brown from Creighton Prep, deciding between Cal, Miami, Nebraska. Pete Nakos from On3. Put in a crystal ball for Cal. Who would you rather be, Pete from On3 or Joe Tipton? Seems like they
Go at it.
Well, no, they're separate sports. So Pete is football, Joe is basketball, but they seem to have a lot of insider knowledge because they do a lot of graphics. So a kid is like, hey, this is where I'm going to school. So they do the graphics. So they have it ready to go. So they like in tight with kids.
It's funny when I go through my camera roll, there's about like 6 different On3 graphics that I've taken screenshots of because they are just wood.
Yes.
You know? Like
so
bad. So good. So good.
Let's talk some recruiting here.
Go ahead.
Because now we're post spring. We're ramping it up. We do a little recruiting. Braylon Warren has Ohio State over at 87 the Pacific today. Nebraska, this is where you need to be right about Dayton Raiola in the class of 26, and you feel good about Trey Taylor in the class of 27, who's going to make his announcement on Thursday. If you get both of them, you have one for sure.
Yeah.
But you have to be right because there are 2 quarterbacks in state that are getting a lot of attention from schools that are in your same neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Jet Tomlin is going to Iowa State. He's now been invited to the Elite 11. That's great. We need more Nebraska quarterbacks. So great for him. Braylon Warren is getting a lot of attention. So while we wait for a running back from Omaha to decide where he's going to go to school, another offer, and his recruiting is blowing up after transferring from Grand Island to Millard South. Nelson Wheeler, who spells Nelson great, N-E-L-S-Y-N.
Oh.
Track star football player at Grand Island, moved to the Metro. He's going to be at Millard South. He just got offered by Northwestern. Do you think schools now just troll Nebraska? So possibly Marty Brown's going to Cal. Cal makes an offer to a 27 quarterback in Omaha.
Yeah.
Grant Segrin could be going to Northwestern. Hey, David Braun comes into Omaha and offers a running back who has been offered by Wisconsin, Iowa, Maryland. The list is getting pretty long.
It would definitely be a troll job if these guys weren't getting looks anywhere else. Like if they just randomly offered they just randomly offered a guy that not even you or people who very closely follow the Metro high school sports, like, really? He got an offer? That would be a troll job. The fact that they got other offers, I think that's just them doing their due diligence in general.
The Cal one is kind of interesting because, you have Justin Wilcox and Ron Rivera working together. I went through a list. I tried to. I don't think a Nebraska high school player has ever played at Cal.
So I definitely do think.
I mean, Joe Cap didn't grow up here, right, Jimmy?
Not that I know of. No.
I definitely do think it's
Rogers.
You gotta the
Nate
Cal,
Longshore.
The Cal situation is
Marshawn Lynch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we're running out of Cal players.
Yeah.
Rogers.
Oh, we got him. Yeah,
it's already off the board. Yeah. Thank you.
Check
the board.
You think
check the board before you grab a vowel?
Hey, you think I'm going to be able?
I got
to
Jeff
tell you
MacArthur.
More
That's
Cal
the last one
than
I had.
Marshawn and get out. Of
here. JJ Arrington.
Isaiah Hunter.
Nebraska got him.
Nebraska got him.
Not a Nebraskan.
I definitely do think that Cal looks at Nebraska and like, oh, we're gonna get this kid from Omaha. He's pretty damn good. Let's just no, I'm serious. I'm dead serious. I think they're like, let's just take a look around the state. Oh, we're in need of this position. Let's go ahead and offer him. Seriously. Like I think
Dave Barr started in the '93 Alamo Bowl against Iowa.
I think that legitimately happened. I think that legitimately happened. They're like, oh, Nebraska has football. Let's look at football players in Nebraska.
Okay.
That could be I'm serious. I wouldn't know. It's speculation, but I just think that just seems like the most plausible answer.
So before I tell you the story, what is the general temp and the feel for Tony White and Evan Cooper around here?
Oh,
I'll leave Terrence Knight on the side because he got into it last week with the James Williams stuff.
I think
that just last week or is that 2 weeks ago?
That was 2 weeks ago.
Everything's running together.
I know.
Okay.
See, I'm not the only one.
So the general vibe about Tony White and Evan Cooper.
I don't think Tony White gets as much credit as he should get. I think that people are like, people look at Tony White and are like, good, not great, good. Thanks. Appreciate it. That was nice. There were times where I loved watching your defense. There was times I absolutely hated watching your defense. I think
in a decade, I don't think we'll look back at Tony White and be like, oh, what a great DC or great hire. Like he was good. Evan Cooper, I think with him going away, I don't people look at him as like, oh, he's a rule guy and ended up having to resign. And I don't think people really, I doubt if anyone really cares about Evan Cooper, that it probably isn't in the most positive light.
If you want to stick with a troll job, Tony White's son, by the way, going to be a big time football player. Nebraska should offer him a scholarship. So
that'd be funny.
Something happened yesterday that needs to be watched and will ramp up the Florida State-Nebraska backstory.
Oh, Lord.
So Nebraska doesn't have a lot of high school kids in the class of 26. They haven't gotten a commitment for a long time. Like, it's been a long time. Yeah. Nebraska in recruiting needs a body. They need a win. They need to beat somebody where you go, oh, and that could happen on Thursday with a quarterback, but not until the class of 27. Yeah. So they only have 3 commitments in the class of 26. But it has been since last November. And correct me if I'm wrong, this CJ Brona, who is from just outside of Orlando, speedy. I mean, one of the fastest DBs in the state of Florida, committed to Nebraska. Big time get for Nebraska. And Nebraska has made a concerted effort to recruit in the state of Florida. Even more so. Yeah. They've done it for a while, but even more so.
They've made coaching hires fully based on being able to establish
Addison Williams,
their brand.
Phil Simpson.
Yes.
So last night, the number 15 cornerback in the country gets a visit from Tony White and Evan Cooper. All is fair in war and games and recruiting.
1,000,000%.
But a school that is much closer to Orlando than Lincoln, Nebraska, is trying to flip one of Nebraska's, if not currently Nebraska's biggest pickup in the class of 2026, 4-star cornerback out of the state of Florida. And we'll see if this goes on to the personal level of, let's stick it to him. We know they like him. Let's take it from him. But there's the other part, if you're looking at it from Nebraska, is how big of a win would this be to keep a kid, because we're still a ways away before you sign and before you ever put your feet on the ground as a member of the Nebraska football program. Because there's knowledge there, and everything is fair and love and war and recruiting, is Nebraska to say, not so fast, Florida State. You guys might not be here next year. We're going to hold on to him, and we're going to ramp it up, and we're going to look at your list and see, who should we go after to flip? But watch this, because there were some big smiles from Tony White and Evan Cooper standing next to somebody who committed to Nebraska a while ago.
So
I love this stuff in recruiting. This is when you know that, okay, first of all, you're recruiting a dude because another school wants that dude and they're trying to flip that dude.
It's a compliment. Yeah. It's a compliment. When you have a guy who already committed to you and you got other schools who are like, no, we don't give a damn. That goes to show, hey, this is more than just people kind of agree with us. They're willing to, because it's not the greatest. Let's be honest here. Like it's all fair and love and war you talk about. Yeah. It's still not the greatest look when you're still recruiting a guy who's already committed somewhere. There still are fans out there who kind of look at that negatively. So when you're able,
you mean from like negative towards Florida State or Florida State?
Florida State still recruiting a guy that's committed, still going after a guy. I still think there are fans who don't appreciate that style.
Them fans don't get the game.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. And so when you go ahead and you do that, you're making a point like, hey, this guy's really damn good.
But it also is about the prospect. Sure. If the prospect is going to keep the line of communication open and open the door to his house,
1,000,000%.
then everything is fair.
So,
and that's where you see like coaches are like, you know what, once you commit to us, but you're taking other visits and you're, then we're done. But in this case, you probably like, hell no, let's get down there. Get the jet fired up at Duncan Aviation. Let's go to Disney World.
How quickly can we get a pickup truck over there?
On the Magic in town, let's go see the Magic in the South. Let's take CJ.
They're taking tallies right now of who's got to drive the semi all the way over to Florida. So this is important for 2 reasons. So the first reason is, and you kind of brought it up with the quarterback situation, right? That if Nebraska isn't going to get Jet Tomala or Braylon Warren, that they got to be right with the other recruits, right? I think that
I
when
remember they haven't offered either one of them. So.
and when Nebraska
I don't think they will.
tries to establish other recruiting hubs outside of Nebraska and prioritizes those states and those prospects in general over Nebraska prospects, you have to be right and you have to establish the fact, hey, this isn't just us, grasping for straws. We're actually here. This is actually something we can do. And so hanging on to CJ Brunau, how do I say that last name again? Brunau. I said that right. My bad.
I'm
just making sure.
Not Eastern European, so you struggle with those.
No, I'm just making sure. But you got to make sure you hold on to this guy. So you establish to Florida, hey, this isn't just a flash in the pan. This isn't just us getting Tarver and Shavers and Barney and having one good go around one year. This is an actual, hey, we are Nebraska and Florida's a recruiting hub. That's why this is important.
This adds a little element when you have two former assistants who are on that side of the ball that are recruiting somebody who you really, really like. See, this is the part of recruiting that I absolutely love, because now you get down, you get dirty, and you go to work. Who sells their plan better? But you have to fly over Tallahassee to get to Lincoln.
The funny thing is, though, is that this is competition. The best part about it isn't necessarily the competition. It's the sprinkle of pettiness. Just this, like even if it's there or not, I'm not saying that Tony White's being petty or Evan Cooper's being petty, but the fact that you can even put those dots together, the fact that you can even connect that hey, there might be a hint of this, makes it all that just more sweeter and all that more intriguing and interesting.
Maybe there's a trade. What do we want from Florida State?
James Williams?
TC reminds us of Steve Bartkowski.
We need a pass rusher. If we're being honest, we could use his 5 sacks.
You think James Williams sent a text to Ty Robinson when he got drafted to say congratulations?
I think so. Why not? They played together. James was like,
nice stuff to say
James was like, hey, thanks for taking the double teams and clogging up the middle so I could get a one-on-one.
Which do not overlook in this upcoming year about the absence of Ty and Nash, who play a lot of football next to each other and benefited each other. We'll get into that and much more. Brian Christopherson will join us next. Some thoughts post-spring. He got the luxury of not being at the Husker games. No, it was fun. It was entertaining.
It was yeah. It was an event.
It
was fun. I had a good time. I did have a good time. I'm making jokes. I did enjoy myself.
Did you? I watched you.
I did. Creep.
I was trying to find where you're at because I was going to come join you, and I'm like, oh, he's down there on the sidelines.
It was really funny. I was waiting for you, and I was like, where's my partner? I want to talk to Gary. He just never showed up. It's a damn shame.
Went and sat by myself in my seats. Hey, you can't sit in South Stadium. How much longer? BC coming up, AK as well. It's the Alphabet Hour on 1620 The Zone. All right, let's welcome in from Husker 24/7, Brian Christopherson. Good morning.
BC.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Good. How was the XL Energy Center?
Oh, that was excellent.
It broke my
You
heart.
know, I don't know the hockey rules inside and out as well as I used to in my Stars coverage days, but I felt like my Minnesota Wild boys got jobbed. There was some tough officiating on us. We lost an OT.
Yeah, it's a huge game tonight in Vegas, Game 5. But I agree with you. Yeah, the officiating in that game was a little suspect. But it's been a great series.
It's that. I mean, there's
Wild
been
and,
so many great series.
The Knights.
Playoff hockey in person, first time, incredible experience.
Yeah.
And it was the perfect type of game. It was back and forth. You know, no one had more than a 1-goal lead. You go to OT. OT goes 18 minutes. A stupid giveaway that's how it happens, though. It's always kind of a clunky goal. It feels like that finishes it. But that was disappointing. I wanted that moment where the Wild scored and we were like high-fiving some stranger 3 rows in front of you and all that. But it didn't happen, but we had a good time.
Hey, that barn is one of the best, if not the best in the NHL to watch a game. The sight lines, no matter if you're in the lower bowl or the upper bowl, are fantastic. And the location right in downtown St. Paul is even better.
Yeah.
St. Paul, I go to Minneapolis a lot. St. Paul's better than Minneapolis, I'll tell you that much. But I don't know if that's a hot take or not. But
I'd like to know between the both. Yeah.
I don't know. Downtown?
I'm not that big on Minneapolis as much as I like the teams up there. But anyway, maybe that's an out there take. But I want to get to know St. Paul a little bit more. I want it to be my friend a little more, and then I'll come back to you maybe in a couple of years to make sure that's the right opinion.
Well, I'll take Brainerd over both of those places any day of the week. But regardless, talking about things that, you want to get to know a little bit more, and you want to be your friend, and you want to, have some knowledge about. In your absence, did you become friends with the Husker games? What was your from the outside looking in, from what you've read and what was reported from your incredible colleagues? What was just some takeaways that you had, if any?
Yeah, first off, I felt bad about being gone over the weekend. It wasn't one of those deals where it was just like, oh man, what's this trash? I got to get out of town. It was sort of a long planned trip, so I don't want it to come off like I wanted to escape and not be around it. It sounded like there was sort of a mixed reaction to it from people on the board and what I saw.
Yeah.
There's probably kids that were over there though that got inside the stadium and they're always going to remember it. And I always think of that before you have some hot take. There's some 7-year-old that was with his dad or mom or both, and first time in there, and they went to the auction, and it's going to be a memory that sticks with them. So there's probably pieces of it you can take and you can adjust as you go forward.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was cool for some of the guys who were down on the depth chart to get some reps, even if it was a smaller crowd. I guess what I'd be curious about was, even if the spring game had been normal as we've known it, I wonder what the attendance would have been, because I do think it's been a kind of, bumpy ride for college sports in general this off season, where, you get that feedback, like, I'm just kind of out of it until the games start.
Yeah.
And you saw at other places where they actually did sort of have a real spring game, the figures were off and down. Michigan did all right, but most of them weren't great. So I don't know that it would have been the regular 40, 50,000, even if it had been a normal game. That would have been an interesting thing to see.
Yeah, and the weather was nice, which also dictates it. One guy we didn't get to see, except for the events that he was in, Elijah Pritchett. As you look at Grant Segrin yesterday making it official that he's in the portal, so that's a depth piece that is gone. There's Gatula that'll come back from missing spring. There's Lutovsky, who is one of the strongest players, went through spring, being moved out to tackle. You got Kanak that is being mentioned. Does Eli Pritchett become maybe the most important person on that line to lock down his tackle spot and not give it back so that you don't have to worry about 2 tackle spots?
Yeah, that's fair to say. You want him to be the guy that, he obviously probably got some good financials to come in here and just be motivated to, progress every day and be not only sturdy, but the kind of guy who's just getting better as the season goes along. I liked when we were over there how detailed he was about, they were really going through various technique items, and you could tell he was paying special attention to the coaching and all that. And so it seems like he's really taken the task to heart at what he's got to do. And he got a little plug the other day from Vincent Shavers, who said, when he gets his hands on you, he's so strong, it's over. And so, I mean, he's got all the traits, but you're right, Gary. If he is that guy who's just solid and it's like, okay, you don't have to worry as much about that spot, you feel pretty good about going through the rest of the line just with the experience. I mean, I think we listed it off last time I was on as you went left to right. There's a lot of college football experience in that group, and it should be a solid group. And if people paid attention to the spring comments, it was probably the position group that got as much compliments passed its way as anybody. And I thought one of the biggest tells was actually Shavers, who didn't have any reason to say it, just saying, yeah, they got after it in the run game with the O-line. And so it did sound like there was some encouraging stuff going on. But yeah, he's got to be that dude. And if he is, it definitely raises Nebraska's chances to win another game or two.
How concerned were you, if at all, about the running back room entering spring? And now that we are at the end of spring and Nebraska football has gone after a running back and seemingly not official, but seemingly is more than likely going to miss out on him, how concerned are you now at the end of it?
I wouldn't say I was concerned, but curious is the word I would use. It was sort of, I did think EJ Barthel made a good point when he was up front that, hey, we went through this last year, actually, with Dante Dowdell. And I do think back to that. Like at the end of spring, we didn't know what Dowdell was going to be, and he hadn't played much football before that. And he had one nice run in the spring game that kind of maybe gave him a little momentum to have that feeling. But it was from there where he really took off. So I take them at their word that they've been genuine, because Matt Rule, every time running backs are brought up, talks about Quinton Ives. Yeah. I believe in Quinton Ives. And I know sometimes people are like, oh, they're just saying that to get that guy's, confidence boosted. But he goes out of his way every time to say that. So they think this guy can play and develop in the same way they've done it with other guys. And I'm not naive. It's a big bet. They got to be right on it. If they're not, and Emmett doesn't have backup behind him that you feel real good about, it'll show in October, and there'll be a lot of talking about how they missed if they didn't add something in the off season. But that's why they get the big bucks. You see the roster every day. You see how guys understand stuff, and you have to make your best estimation of like, yeah, he's ready. He's gonna do us right when we get him out there, and that's what they've done. So we'll see if they called that one correctly.
They only had 4 running backs that participated on Saturday: Nelson and Booth, and then Kenneth Williams, who is from Lincoln High, who has had a nice little spring. But there's a lot of running backs. Do you think this whole discussion about running backs and how we feel about them would be completely different if Jamarian Parker had a good spring and wasn't on the bike more than on the field?
Could be a little bit, but I still think there would be that until somebody goes out there and at least runs for like 75 or 80 yards that's not Emmett Johnson, there's going to be that conversation in the wind, But your point's well taken. Like if you were hearing like, a nugget or two about Jamarian Parker and this, oh man, he did this in the scrimmage or had this one run. Not that there was a lot of that this spring, but all it would take is like one guy to say something like, yeah, Jamarian, he's got that extra burst. He did this, and yeah, that would make some people feel a little bit better. But it's totally a deal where we got to get to those games. Quinton Ives, Mekhi Nelson, whoever is in there first, second quarter in Arrowhead, when they get a touch, you want to see, people are going to say like, okay, there it is. He's got a little something. And then he backs it up those next couple of weeks. And the conversation could go away as quickly as that, but it's going to take until then. And until then, we're going to have these conversations sort of in a circle about like, I don't know if they've got it, and that, I guess that's the beauty of the off season. And Again, it's coming down to a coach's evaluation of like they do think they got it, but now those guys got to prove them right.
Would you rank this team to begin the season?
No. I'd have them right on the edge though of the top 25. I'd make them prove it a couple weeks if I had a vote, but I think it's fair if someone did have them like, in that 21 to 25 range. They're the perfect sort of team too. You'll see this as we get through the summer. Like guys like to call their like dark horse for like the CFP and stuff like that. Nebraska's like tailor made to be that kind of team. So be prepared we're going to get some of that, like more of that than we've had in the past with 12-team playoff. Like, and guess who I have as my fourth team in the Big Ten? You're going to see Nebraska. But I think they're in that conversation. And, that game in Arrowhead is going to be interesting, though. That's not like just a layup right off the bat. So you got to go handle your business because I've covered this program, long enough. You guys have seen it the last few years. Like if you have a bad day at the office that first week, it's just such a cloud over the whole thing, and it's tough to get it back. So they got to be ready to roll from opening kick.
I'm with you, and it's my most important game. And you could say, oh, because it's the first game. You are right,
Nope.
BC. Those are the kind of games that Nebraska loses. They're build up.
Yep.
It's the opener. It's something unique, whether you're playing in Ireland or you're playing on week 0. You're a favorite. Everybody's talking about you. Nebraska would start to convince me if they won a game like that, and then later in the year, and I know Michigan is in the middle, you win a game like at Minnesota. Those are my 2 top games this upcoming year.
Hey, real quick, Brian, I want to ask you, you don't have them in the preseason top 25, but they're right on the edge. What do you need to see to put them over that edge?
Just like on the offensive side of the football, I just think you want to see just efficiency where you feel like, that they know exactly who they are. Dylan Raiola, you can tell, like we've heard Matt Rule say he's, 10 steps ahead of where he was like last fall's training camp. See some examples of that. Mm-hmm. Even if it's not like a 2-minute drive to win a game at Arrowhead, but there's moments within it where there's a little strife or something and you see them overcome it, or you have a turnover and the defense goes out there and bows up and doesn't give up stuff in the red zone. I think things like that, those first couple weeks, just kind of a detailed football team that tackles well too. Like I felt like 2 years ago, one of the things that did really impress me with that team right off the bat, they had obviously their flaws, but Tony White's first defense from that Minnesota game tackled really well. And I thought last year they were a little leaky there. Mm-hmm. And you can think of various games, big games, and also games like Northern Iowa, where it was just like extra yards were being, mounted up. And so that'll be a really big thing as I work through this question, is just like, is this just a solid defensive group where 3 yards are 3 yards for the other team? It's not 3 yards turn into 6 yards. Those type of little things I think you'll be able to pick up in the first few weeks, and that'll tell a lot.
Hey, so the place kicker leaves the room, and now you have 2 scholarship guys. Tristan Alvano maybe surprised some people and was able to go through spring camp. John Hull was battling some injuries, but John Hull, made 9 of his last 10 field goals.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think happens in the fall? Because John Hull didn't get the job without Alvano being injured and having to have surgery late and then having to shut it down. How do you foresee that competition playing out? And then another part of this, could you see where one guy is your short field goal kicker and the other is your long field goal kicker?
Yeah, that's possible. I don't think you throw any idea away. I guess it's it's a position where you should be able to chart it pretty easily to put it right in front of guys' faces. Like, hey, we did this many kicks. This guy made more kicks, and obviously you got to factor in how a guy might respond in pressure situations and all that. In fairness to Alvano, I think some people kind of have tried to write the book on him after his freshman season. We didn't really. He got in there a little bit last year, but he was kind of trying to come back from injury. We never really got to see how a guy we were all really fired up about for what he did at Omaha Westside and made some of the most clutch kicks we've seen in Nebraska high school history. We never got to see how he would respond to his freshman year. And I know he was pretty confident in the last spring about where his mind was at and how he was going to improve. And so this is really his first shot to actually show that. And so I have an open mind about it. Kicker's such an interesting deal. It's like a golfer. Like guys go through these stretches where he's really got it, and then sometimes he loses it for a little bit. And I mean, we've had years around here with the kicker position where like Nebraska's returned like the Big Ten kicker of the year, and we thought, oh, they're going to be fine there, and then the guy struggles the next season, So it's gone every which way. I don't think they're in a terrible spot, but I think you just let them, kick it out, see who charts the best, and your idea I don't think is off the table either if they feel like that benefits them. But it is an interesting deal because I thought John Hull was going to be the healthy guy this spring.
Yep.
And Alvano was still working back. And then as spring went along, it was the other way around. So it kind of has had twists and turns to it.
Gary asked me this question yesterday, and I've been waiting for your answer here. I've been thinking about this. Who do you think? And let's eliminate Dylan. All right, no Dylan Raiola. Can't be your answer. Who do you think will be the first Matt Rule high school recruit to end up being drafted in the NFL?
Oh boy. Brain is spinning. I'm trying to think like who's some names that are on the cusp of next year, if there could be someone. Throw like 2 or 3 names out while my brain is spinning.
Willis McGahee.
Yeah, McGahee, Shavers, maybe one of the younger corners could be. Bricks maybe. Gatula.
Harburg?
Yeah.
Harburg? Well,
he wasn't a Rule recruit.
Not Rule recruit.
Okay, if it's just a straight Rule recruit, I would say maybe McGahee. I'm looking at those sophomores right now, sophomore, junior types. Although it could be, if you're counting like it, you're talking high school recruit.
Sure.
So yeah, I'll say a Willis McGahee as my final answer. Obviously, I think that would sort of be with the idea that he's so good over the next 2 years. Maybe he goes a year early, something like that. But I'm a big fan of what he can do. Like when you talk about, okay, what's going to take this defense from good to great? What does that look like? It's guys like Willis McGahee. It's guys like Javen Wright, who I feel like are players who have already have shown they are close to making game-changing plays, and now they got to get those extra like 3 to 4 inches on a play where it finishes the deal. Like Willis McGahee, as we've said before, had like 3 or 4 almost plays last year. Javen Wright, when he was really healthy 2 years ago, same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so if they can turn those into, that's a strip sack.
Yeah.
And that's all the difference between, okay, you're a 6-7 win team and then you're a 9-10 win team or whatever. And Willis McGahee is like one of the 3 guys I think about on that front. So he's a good pick. There's probably someone who's like a year ahead of him or something that I'm missing, but he would definitely be in that category.
Yeah, that linebacker room is going to be fascinating this year. A guy who I think might find a situational role that looked pretty good on Saturday was Jordan Ochoa. Hey, we'll get you out of here. Marcus has a question, and I'm just going off part of his email. I think he's a Minnesota Wild fan. He goes, I'm glad the BC had a great time at XL Energy, especially getting to see a playoff game that went into overtime. Who did the Let's Play Hockey introduction at the beginning? Oh. That's Marcus's question.
Oh, it was Nico did it, the Gophers coach.
Oh, Nico Medved.
Wow.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, he was the guy who got us fired up.
Yeah,
and
that's
I
the only
went
Nico
along with
that's
it.
had a good year.
Yeah, I'm sorry to Nebraska ball fans. I went along with it. I felt like I was in. So,
Did you walk on the concourse to see all the hockey sweaters from all the high school hockey programs in Minnesota? Did you see that
I didn't.
display?
I didn't see that. You know what? The stupid thing that I marveled at was they do have a nice concourse area, and I kept telling my brothers, man, this is what I saw on YouTube when Stephon Diggs caught the touchdown against the Saints. Someone had one of those videos of like everybody had left the hockey game to go watch the end of the Vikings game, and they were all there and they went nuts. And so I was just like obsessed with, oh, this was where it happened and all that. But I did not see the hockey sweaters. They did have a cool intro though. And this is why Minnesota needs to win the cup. They showed all the little kids like growing up playing hockey, and then they showed like these old like 70-some-year-old guys on the ice, still doing it. And it's like the state of hockey, and you see these little kids walking around in jerseys. It's like, man, how can someone root for Vegas over this operation?
I can. Absolutely I can. That's probably the exact reason why I want Minnesota to lose. State of hockey. Can't stand it.
It's a great barn. BC, thanks for your time. Welcome back and enjoy the rest of the week and enjoy Game 5 tonight, late night out in Vegas.
All right, thanks guys.
See you, Brian. See, I got disdain, man. I got like I'm always jealous. Like I wish I grew up in Minnesota. Like I
didn't grow up in the 3 M's: Minnesota, Massachusetts, or Michigan.
I know. I did
they
grow
play
up
hockey in Illinois?
Don't you dare. We have some damn good high school hockey. And Mission is one of the best AAA teams in the nation in Chicago.
They ain't no Little Caesars.
Chicago Young Americans. CYA.
They ain't no Little Caesars.
Team Illinois. Fury. We got some of the best AAA programs in the nation. We had Alex Turcotte on our turf. Number 3 overall pick. Or he went to the King. Was he 2 or 3?
You're asking the wrong person. I would ask you.
I played with Alex Turcotte. He was awesome. Absolutely incredible. I'm just jealous of Minnesota. I wish I had.
Jealousy is one of the 7 deadly sins.
I mean, not everybody.
Shout out gluttony.
Everybody can go for the North Stars to the Wild.
I have
that video, which shows up a lot on my TikTok, is pretty awesome. But it's great to be up there during the winter because you've been just driving down the road and you've got rinks and parks.
So sick.
I mean, you got people out. You got Hockey Day in Minnesota, where from all the way up in Duluth to Hibbing to Brainerd, all the way down to Waseca and Faribault and Albert Lee, they're playing hockey, or out in Marshall. Over on the other side, you go out to Shakopee or Woodbury.
Maybe the Pequot
or
Lakes area.
You go right into Willard Icola Arena and you see the Hornets of Edina play. Bam! Boys and girls.
Got some boys and girls on Mille Lacs,
but
going at it. Gold Lake turns into a nice little private rink.
The only thing that they messed up with hockey in the state of Minnesota is when they split the classes. They used to have one class for hockey, and they used to play it. It no longer exists. Downtown St. Paul, Civic Center, and they had clear glass. The boards were clear. It was fantastic.
That's so sick.
Yeah.
I've never played on one. I've only ever seen one of those rinks. I've never played on one of those rinks.
Shout out Gordon Bombay.
Then everybody needed a trophy, so the state of Indiana split up the basketball tournament, and the state of Minnesota split up the hockey tournament.
I would love to go through and look at all the sweaters.
It is pretty cool. I wish they would do that at PBA.
I wish
because
they did that
PBA hosts the state basketball. Because over at Wells Fargo, they put up, Wells Fargo is the home of the Iowa State boys and girls. They put up the uniform of the current state champions right when you walk in on the main entrance at Wells Fargo. It's pretty cool. I wish they would do that. I also wish, because other places do it, like the College Football Hall of Fame, a lot of NFL stadiums now, if they would do a montage inside of the entryway, you'd have to do it probably on the East Stadium, of all of the high school football helmets in the state of Nebraska.
That would be awesome.
Andy Kendi still to come before we're out of here at 10 on 1620 The Zone. All right, we are portaling. Let's see, 126, 125, 124, 123. Ian Flint, tight end. David Borchers, who will always be remembered as the wing-eating champion. Offensive lineman Hayes Miller, wide receiver Evan Taylor, cornerback, are all in the portal. We are portaling, and you know what? If they put a roster limit to grandfather at 120, Nebraska is almost there.
So can we just write it up on the whiteboard how many guys I have on the roster, just so we can keep track, just so you don't have to keep doing math and keep
again?
Counting? Well, you're at 127. They just
so we're at 127 with Segrin
out
and Nico.
Yes.
Flint leaves. Boom, 126. Borchers leaves.
125.
125. Again, the awkwardness of you knew you were in the portal, and you couldn't tell people. You're like, no. They're not taking away from free wings from me. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to mouse some wings to end the Husker games.
Has this ever happened to you where you did something bad at school, but you did it in secrecy, and the teachers are like, somebody did this. Somebody wrecked the bathroom, or somebody, threw paper towels against the wall, or somebody did this terrible thing.
Never got in trouble.
And, if we find out who's going to do it or who did it, we're going to punish you. But if you come forward right now, you won't get punished.
10 lashes in the public square.
Have you ever had that, and you were the guy who did it, and then you had to walk around school really awkwardly for 2 days being like, I did this bad thing, but I'm not going to tell anybody I did it. That's happened to me before.
I was going to say, you're very, very specific on this, and you painted a beautiful picture.
It's an awkward moment. I feel like it's very similar to when you enter the transfer portal. You're still in the facilities. No, and I ain't going to enter the Magic Johnson GIF or video. I ain't going to be here next year.
All right. Boy, the database works quick on guys that are in the portal of their transfer.
Are they removed from the roster already?
So, but here's an interesting thing. A couple of these guys, well, I don't think these four were in the 105.
Okay.
So Segrin was in the 105. So does that open a spot for somebody?
I mean, I would assume so, right? Do they already have, though? They already have an established, hey, this is the 105.
Yeah, they've already, you know if you are getting, if you are part of the 105 and everything is taken care of.
Do they have do they have it up to 110? That would make sense if
because they made decisions where it was just going to be 105, and everybody else that is left over,
sure,
they're hoping they will be grandfathered.
So they wouldn't, but 106 wouldn't know that person is 106 essentially.
No.
Okay.
No, because I think they'd have to tell even I'll give you Derek Branch, by the way, is in the 105.
Sure.
He's a walk-on. They have to tell him, hey, you are, we're taking care of you.
Yeah. Okay.
So they already know that.
Definitely opens up a spot. And it'll be interesting.
Let's say out of the blue, Marty Brown picks Nebraska, which is still a possibility. I mean, you have to have a spot for him. So they have you have to do the gymnastics of roster building. But on the database online, it is wild how quickly this works. Because these guys were in the portal either on Thursday or Friday. Now, Evan Taylor, I don't believe was there on Saturday. Borchers, of course, was. Sure. I wasn't looking for Flint or Hayes Miller.
I wonder now that I'm thinking about this now, right? You can no longer enter the transfer portal. But I do wonder if you were a player who was on the borderline of the 105, if you were doing some recon to figure out if there were dudes within the 105 who were thinking about going out. Seriously.
You think somebody went and said, hey, nudged him? Hey,
do you think you're heading out? What are rumors you're hearing?
I still don't think you're going to play. You're in the 105, but I don't think you're going to play. And I'm 106.
No, I'm saying, if you are on the borderline, if you think you're a 106, 107 guy and you don't really want to leave Nebraska, I really wonder if you're snooping around the facility trying to talk to people. I'm being serious. I think you're trying to figure out, hey, do you think this guy in the I'm hearing this guy in the 105 might be leaving. I wonder if this guy in the 105 is leaving. It's a weird, weird world we live in now.
Well, you know how this world works. When guys go into the portal, people know pretty quick.
Oh, pretty quick.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, even if the lead up, you kind of understand the lead up is coming as well. It's more oftentimes, at least in my experience, that there is a understanding that, hey, this has kind of been building for a little bit, as opposed to shock. Oh my God, I can't believe this has happened. So I don't know. I think it's just it's funny to think about that there could have been, or there might be guys who are like on that borderline thinking like, oh, I'm hearing this guy might be leaving. Maybe I stick around because I could be the next one up. Or they're just crossing their fingers hoping that they get grandfathered in.
Well,
to the 120.
It depends. Like, do you want an opportunity to play? Like, are you just like we had this discussion last week? Are you just happy to be part of the program, or have you gone through multiple weeks of competition and you're like, you know what, I got a shot, or I don't have a shot, or I want to play? Like, you got a taste of it. You know that your path to playing time this year is going to be constricted, but timing is everything. There's a lot of desperate people that are looking for going shopping in the portal. You may not necessarily fall up, but you may get someplace where you could get on the field sooner than staying at Nebraska. I don't know. It all depends. When you're at that back end of that roster, there's probably other factors that go into play. What's your degree look like? You're on pace to get your degree.
Sure.
Why would you uproot yourself right now?
For my thing though is that I wouldn't really advise anyone to enter the spring transfer portal just because you don't know how much money is out there. We really don't know how much opportunity there is. We don't know how much roster leverage all these teams have because there are a lot of teams who are like, hey, we got our.
Doesn't it seem like Nebraska's one of the rare that have no room in, no vacancy? There's a lot of teams that are adding guys. Now, you will make the harsh business decision that if somebody falls into your lap, you're like, that guy's got to go. Or you work with, we're not always going to be at 105.
Sure.
We're going to be like, what happens if what if Sierra Wright in the middle of the summer says, you know what, Nebraska's a place for me. And you go, you know what, we got a spot for you. And he looks at you because you do have a spot, but doesn't look at a place in Madison, Wisconsin, because they've got no room, but you've got a nice little double room that is $89 a night,
Yeah. But I do think that this spring transfer market, especially that it's we haven't had this really open in this manner like it before with the 105 and all the legislature and the settlements need to, it's a risk for sure to enter the 105 or to enter the transfer portal. But I don't think that risk is for people who are already in the 105. If you're already in it, I don't think you take on as great of a risk as people who are outside of it. And so I think that's an interesting point where it's like, if you're 106, 107, 108, 109, I don't know how much opportunity there's going to be for you when you enter the portal. But if you're 72, 73, 74, obviously there's going to be something there. But I do think when you talk about the whole, am I going to play or am I just going to collect gear and collect jerseys and be around? I think we have the whole collecting gear conversation when we're talking about 129 and 130 and 132. I think that with the 105, whether it be on special teams or whether it be working your way up to a depth position, I think that if you're in that 105 roster, there's the idea of, okay, I do have a shot to get on the field in some sort of capacity. I don't know if I would say that the guys in the 105 are necessarily dudes who are like, oh, I'm never going to play. I think that there's always a shot. There's always improvement to be made.
All right. Andy Kenny's going to join us a little bit. If you'd like a big-time retweet today, just tweet out something in support of Jordan Hudson. She is after only tweeting 5 times in 6 years, Bill Belichick's girlfriend is retweeting a storm today of people that wish Bill Belichick well.
That's all you, Matt.
And were not happy with the interviewer. If you want a celebrity retweet, there you go.
Should I try? Should I make a tweet right now?
Yeah. Slide into her DMs. AK, join us next on 1620 The Zone. And he's back on your television. Andy Kendi joins us, sports director at KTV. Good morning. How are you?
Awesome, boys. Good
Andy.
morning.
All right. So I'm glad I saw you on TV last night. I'm glad that everything went well with your quick trip to the hospital.
I tell you, it's this time of year, right? That's all I do in the months of April and May is I get my body in for a little oil change, and we're out and ready to go. I had something called a stapendectomy. Boys, over the course of my lifetime, when you get old, you lose your hearing, and so that's what they were doing. They were trying to increase my hearing. So I go, huh? I mean, Lauren and Matt are so tired of them explaining something to me and me having to stand up even though they're 2 feet away from me and me having to read their lips because I can't hear them.
Wow.
Oh, that bad.
So is your hearing restored to normal or?
Well, the goal is eventually it's a process, right? So my ear's still packed with stuff. And they actually put in a titanium like prosthesis. I don't want to get too technical, but because I'm going to go over my skis here. Mm-hmm. But basically, I'm going to sound off the alarms at TSA at this point from now on because I got a piece of titanium in my head. And it eventually will help me restore the hearing up to, they say, possibly 95% and above. And right now is like below 50. And, Bill and Rob and Julie can attest that when we talk, I literally have to take my earpiece out and walk over to them in the breaks because I can't hear what they're saying to me.
Well, do you think, and you know what, when we mentioned and we wished you well last week, do you think, because, we wear earbuds or headphones or play-by-play, you're wearing a headset, you wear IFB. Do you think this is normal in our business?
I think so. No question. And plus, and you guys know it, you've been into enough games and stuff, just the volume level of where you're at, in terms of arenas and stadiums and what have you. I just think, and having grown up in a very musical family, all the music that you listen to too with the earphones too. I don't think it's great for you, but we're trying to stretch it, trying to get back to where I was at. So, the downside of all this now, as I was explaining to my wife, is that I'll actually be able to hear her and hear her commands and hear my daughters talk about their silly TikToks now. So now that, there is some drawback to having this procedure done.
That's funny. Hey, one athlete who has been on one heck of a journey in the last year has been Harper Murray, and she had a tweet yesterday. She's going to be giving out some of her spring game tickets for the people who are in Ord, Nebraska, who were unable to get them. When it comes to superstars, not only just on the field, but off the field, when was the last time Nebraska had someone like Harper Murray?
Oh, that's a great question. Female, male, doesn't matter.
Let's go female. Let's kick it to female.
Oh boy!
Or if it's easier for you, we can do either or. It's up to you, Andy.
Well, I mean, Jordy Ball right now is right. Is I think in that same is in the same neighborhood, but Harper Murray is right. I mean, for her influence right now, with where she's at in her sport, and kind of there's just very few people who get flown to a different city to do autograph appearances, and that's what Harper Murray's at the level that she's at right now. It just speaks to where she is and her popularity, and I think people can relate to that. She isn't perfect, and that she's stumbled a little bit along the way, but has been forthcoming and has taken the steps to better herself. And I think people can appreciate that and respect that. And boy, anybody who watched Saturday, she is a force, and to see what she's been up to in the off season in terms of improving her game. Oh my goodness. So she's not only one of the most talented volleyball players in the country, but she's one of the most marketable as well. You'd have to go back a few years because what do you think? Because if you go back 10, 15 years, it wasn't even at the same level where women's sports are in the last 10, 15 years. So in terms of the strides they made, so you can't even say like a Jordan Larson or, take your pick at the basketball players. It doesn't. I don't think it's still. There's just not a comparison right now. I think the closest thing to him in Nebraska would be Jordy, but I think Jordy Ball her journey is still evolving, as is Harper's. So I just think it's just a cool gesture that Harper Murray did, and I just think the evolution of this, take the show on the road thing that Nebraska volleyball has done. It's such one of the cool, underrated stories nationally that I don't think a lot of people know about. And when you tell people about it out of market or something, you're like, yeah, they play in they go to a different high school out of the area just to kind of bring their show to them, and people are just blown away. Like, really, people that a school would do that? It's just a remarkable deal, and I think Nebraska should get credit for doing that.
Hey, 120 days till kickoff at Arrowhead. What are you guys going to do with B-roll when you do Nebraska football stories? Because you got a lot of B-roll from previous years of the spring game that carry you through the summer.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, what are you gonna do for B-roll for between now and when you get more in August?
Can I tell you? And if you guys remember, we were supposed to have 3 video opportunities, right? And they canceled the third one because it happened to be on Portal Day, or whenever the portal opened, I think. Now, that wasn't confirmed as the reason, but I think everybody can add 2 and 2 together. But I'll tell you, Sean Callahan, God bless him, he did his report, and I'm trying to, what we call in the business, I'm trying to cover it on Sunday, and I'm going through video. And when I say cover, it means when he's talking, I put video over the top of him talking, so you just don't see Sean the whole time, for people who don't know the jargon. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to have Dylan standing around, and I'm going to have Elijah Judy standing around, and I'm going to have Van Poppel standing around. And, it's just like, oh my goodness. And then the times that we were allowed in was 10 to 15 minutes a pop. And your head's on the swivel and drinking out of a fire hose, trying to get as many shots as possible. Now, I get it. It's not, oh, poor us, because we got bigger fish to fry. I understand that. But I do think that it's going to represent a challenge in terms of testing our creativity as we move forward in these summer months, because you're right. We leaned on that, not just the game video, but the warm-up video was just as important, so you could ISO on guys just warming up. And we don't even have that. When you see the jerseys that are the red jerseys and the yellow numbers, you're like, yep, that's them standing around. It's going to be good stuff.
Hey, Andy, one team that has had an incredible offseason is the Creighton Blue Jays, and they just added Blake Harper, the MEAC Player of the Year from last season at Howard. Are you surprised about how great of an offseason that they had? I mean, I think that everyone kind of knew that Creighton was going to have a little bit of money to spend, and the checkbook was going to be open. But are you at all shocked that they've been able to bring in a ton of talent at different positions across the board?
No, I'm not surprised. And I think it leans to a couple things. One, Mac running the show. I think people know what kind of program he's established there, and what type of offense, which is very attractive to players who want to expand their games and get on the national stage. And 2, I think what Creighton has been able to do is, at least for now, show that they're willing to spend money on basketball. And I think the positioning that the Big East has now, because they don't have football, is that they can spend as much as they can up to a limit on basketball, which may be more than a Power 2 or a Power 4 school could do. So I think I'm not surprised. I think it's awesome for Creighton and Omaha that we're going to have a team to cover next year and a team to follow next year that is going to be as good and be as in contention as any team has going into the offseason, because they have talent. Oh my goodness. And they're going to score. And I think that what Mac has been able to do, and it'll be interesting to see how this all evolves with his, the transformation or the handoff of the program to Alan Huss when that gets to that point. I think that it's just remarkable about how they can bring in guys to this level at this moment in time and pay them what their market value is. There's a lot to be said to be a finalist in some of these guys, but it's another thing to bring these guys in, and that's what they've been able to do. we were chatting the other day. It's like, man, I know it's just April, but man, when does basketball season start around here? Because it's going to, and not only Creighton, but Nebraska, you're looking at some of these preseason portal rankings or whatever, and Nebraska's right up there in terms of what their additions are. So it's just this wacky time in college athletics where everything is free agency is just nuts until they can get a handle on it. And it's like you need a scorecard every day, and you got to be constantly checking Twitter to see who's coming and going.
All right, we'll get you out on this. You being a Chicago guy.
Yep.
42 years ago today, there was one of the most famous moments of Chicago Cub history, the Lee Elia explicit epic rant. Do you remember that at the time?
Yeah, I do. Lee Elia, he was one of those guys, though, that one of those guys who kind of got sucked into the Cubs stratosphere. Like everybody thinks that they're going to be the guy to change the culture, and Lee Elia was one of those guys. And I think that rant was just kind of one of those deals where it was just like, yep, he lost it. It ranks up there in terms of rants. I think Lee Elia and Hal McRae had a good one with the Royals. He had a really good one. But Lee Elia, you can get it on Twitter, not Twitter, on YouTube. That's easy. And it is awesome. And ripping the crowd and
oh, it's unbelievable.
The bleachers and a lot of F-bombs. It's epic. And tip of the hat to Lee Elia.
Yeah, I think there were 42 F-bombs that were dropped during that rant. Yes. Yeah.
It's actually used as a verb, a noun, an adjective.
Hey, my friend, I'm glad that you're good, and we're on the road to recovery, and I always appreciate the conversation.
Thanks, fellas. Have a great one.
Thank you, Andy.
Andy Kendi. Yes, 42 years ago today, Lee Elia went off on Cubs fans.
You didn't like day games, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of things going on in the 80s.
Hey, a year later though, things got better for the Cubs.
Yeah.
They did a great.
Shout out Dallas Green and Jim Fry.
There was an incredible ESPN podcast 30 for 30 about the 80s Cubs and turning on the lights and just the difficulties of that franchise.
I remember that night got rained out.
How they were just hopeless.
Mm-hmm.
Like they just did not know their butts from their elbows, and they couldn't win baseball games to help themselves.
But now we're back, baby.
Yeah, it took long enough.
And now we're back.
It took 9 years.
Now we're on to Pittsburgh.
Finally got a leadoff hitter.
All right. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for putting up with us for the 4 hours of fun and frivolity and discussion about Jordan Hudson.
Hey, great show. Good show. Your flu game, man.
And my flu game.
Way to be a trooper. That was awesome.
All right, we're going to fight through it. Crossover's coming up next. We're back in tomorrow, maybe with more portal entries.
Ooh.
6 since the Husker Games ended.
We can call it that now.
For Matt, for Jimmy, I'm Gary. Crossover's coming up next.